Coming up on The Big Room.
To Tolkien, the chief hero of Lord of the Rings
Is Sam.
Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah.
Because of what you just all said. He's loyal. You knew he was going to come back.
Yep.
And Tolkien did as well. Sam, at the end of Two Towers, Frodo says, Frodo never would have gotten far without Sam. And that's Tolkien's whole point.
Yep.
Is that friendship and love are worth so much. And Sam is, I'm going to cry. Sam is the chief hero. Sam is the chief hero of Lord of the Rings.
Welcome back to The Big Room. We're wrapping it up. One more.
We did it.
Return of the King. Holy cow, what a long movie. We watched it Saturday because I did not want to end the movie when the sun was down. So we started it at 2 and finished it at 6:40. Long movie. Housekeeping before we start. No show next week because I'm going to San Francisco on vacation and I can't be bothered to edit while we're there.
Really steep roads makes for hard editing.
It does. So we're taking a break. We'll be back in June something. Who cares? We'll figure it out. We don't even know what movies we're watching yet. We'll have to pick them.
I'll make the list for you.
Perfect.
I love it.
So, Return of the King. Really quick stats and fun facts. We have a long show probably ahead of us.
But a fun one.
But a fun one. I'm so excited.
Rich and glorious.
So, our release date for this one, December 17th, 2003. They were all in December. I think the last one was December 1st or something like that. So December 17th, 2003. Runtime. Theatrical is 3 hours and 21 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The Blu-ray extended editions, which is what we watched, they're the longest extended editions. Apparently, the DVD ones are slightly shorter. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that is
Weird.
true. They added some more, right?
4 hours and 23 minutes. So a full hour and 2 minutes longer
Glorious.
than the theatrical
Insane.
release.
Awesome.
And boy, is it long. The budget was $94 million, exact same as Two Towers, to the million at least. Maybe it's 5 cents different. The box office, 1.156 billion. So it was the
And counting.
Billions.
This was the first of the trilogy to cross
make
the
$1
$1
billion.
billion mark. It was the highest grossing film of 2003. It was the second highest grossing film of all time during its run. And adjusted for inflation, is the 59th highest grossing film of all time. It is number 7 on IMDb's top 250. Fellowship is 9. Two Towers is 12. And it is ahead of Pulp Fiction, which is at 8.
That's fair.
It at the 76th Academy Awards, it won all 11 awards it was nominated for, including Best Picture. It was the first fantasy film to do so. It is tied with Ben-Hur and Titanic as the movie with the most Academy Award wins.
I feel like everyone probably hated the Academy Awards for like that 3-year
Right.
span because it was just Lord of the Rings. Everyone else was like, God damn it.
Now, this is the second film series whose entries have all won Best Visual Effects. The first was the original Star Wars trilogy.
Nice job.
So that ends my facts.
Those were fun.
There you
Those
go.
were really, really fun.
It's a heck of a movie. It's widely regarded to be one of the greatest movies of all time. Flawless film. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Do you think, as a whole, people prefer the third one? Or is it just,
I will say that I do not, and I don't think he does either.
right?
It's so, like, again, like I think I said the first one. The first one is my favorite,
Same.
but the next two are, like, also favorite. But, like, but even rewatching this one, like, there was definitely lots of moments where I was, like, having to fight back tears, you know? Like, I'm just like,
boy.
oh my
100%.
gosh, man. Like, the first one is, again, I love firsts, but the third one, this one's just so great. Plus all the book things I want to bring up, I always think about during the movie.
I can't wait for
Oh
that.
my goodness.
I've never made it this far. I've never made it out of the Council of Elrond in the books.
No,
I'm going
again,
to pick them up. I'm going to bring Fellowship
worth
on
it.
vacation. I will probably read 0
Oh, good
words of
call.
it while I'm there.
No, you will. It's worth it.
Do an audiobook on the plane.
No, I don't do audiobooks. My mind wanders. I like to have the physical thing
I
to
feel ya.
bounce my eyeballs off of. So this movie begins with a flashback. It is the second film to begin with a flashback. Two Towers is the odd man out there.
Oh boy.
And we begin with Smeagol throttling Deagle for the one ring that he finds while being very bad at fishing.
Deagle.
Also, Smeagol and Deagle.
A little on the nose.
His names.
But they're
He
rhymes.
needs help with names.
Again, here's what I'll say to everybody who has anything to say about Tolkien's things. He's a linguist. He's the language professor at Oxford University. He wrote the Oxford English Dictionary.
Yeah.
People, yeah. So he's the most professional namer of all.
Deagle just
Deagle
makes
out.
me think of the Desert Eagle from Call of Duty.
People,
4.
yeah. They're related.
related?
Similar family. Yeah, they're cousins,
Okay.
I believe.
Okay. All right.
So similar family.
That's forgivable. It's
situation.
just like I'm speaking. This is my best friend Deagle. It's like okay, come on,
They're
man.
brothers. Cousins?
Okay.
I thought they were cousins, but I could be wrong. I didn't
It's
look
fine,
up that
yeah.
one, but yeah. Either way, Tolkien's.
I had a
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Do you have a question already?
I had a question about. So
I
the
didn't mean
ring
that
seemed to
pejoratively.
impact them like nearly immediately. Is that because they had that kind of temperament that allowed for that, or is it like a Jedi mind trick? The weaker minds are more affected quicker. Like,
Pause. Did you have a similar question?
Yeah. I didn't know if it was the ring affecting them immediately, or were they just already insane? Because
3, 2, 1, go.
I think the ring has power that's
that was quick.
can immediately, because you even see later in the movie Sam, like they I don't think in the book Sam has any reluctance to give it up, but they show Sam having Boromir as soon as he touches the ring, he is like, so I think it has an immediate grasp on you, and that's why they're so all the time saying Frodo is showing such resilience. But I think they also probably were, what's the word I'm looking for, but
Well,
likely to
Insane.
bend to its power.
The thing that we also have to remember is that the ring is a living entity. It's Sauron's actual essence. And
Yeah.
it is said in Fellowship, I believe, by Gandalf to Frodo after he returns from the libraries of Gondor, that it wants to be found.
Yeah, so it has a will of its own.
So it may have turned up its gross volume when Deagle picked it up to be like, it's time, I'm back.
Yeah,
and
true.
Plus,
It had been a
they
minute.
seemed like
Okay.
they were already like ready to fight.
also, it's several
they had kind of an angry
hundred.
disposition.
That like montage we get of Smeagol turning into Gollum in the Misty Mountains is several hundred years.
Centuries even. It bothered.
That's a good word. That's a running joke now. I love it.
Make a shirt.
It really bothered me that Smeagol's voice was the same already.
when he was crazy.
Yeah.
Like that kind of takes away to me from like the corruption of Gollum. Like that's just his voice.
It's a little
Like if
different.
Frodo, if that were Frodo would still have the same voice but just look gross.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought his voice
I
changed
like-
for Gollum.
It is
but
a little bit more lively and less croaky if you watch it again.
Yeah, it's not
but
the
it's
same.
5% different.
and it's more kind of manic, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely got a crazed voice the whole time. But yeah,
Throttle's a
I
guy.
have another
It's
Gollum
great.
question.
Yep.
Wait, what?
Go ahead.
So Gollum coughing, he coughs Gollum.
Yep.
Is that how the name came about?
Yes.
Why is he okay?
I was gonna ask the same.
That's like the ring trying to come out of him, or what? Like what is that?
I think it's just
That's
that's
just-
the sound he made while coughing, and then orcs.
That was just Andy Serkis's performance. He just decided to
Okay.
make his coughs sound
It's in
like
the
a
book.
cat.
It's,
Oh, it
It's
is?
in the book
Okay.
that the name was derived from
okay.
the cough sound, not vice versa.
however, Andy Serkis definitely
Yeah.
did a good job at making
One
it
of the things that landed him the
pronounced. But
job
yes, that is, how
that he, I won't do this because these chairs are terrible, but he jumped up on his chair on all fours when he did his audition, and they were like,
he also was like thinking what noise should I make, and I think there's an interview with him. He heard his cat coughing up a
Yeah.
hairball, and yeah, he was like, "This is it.
That's
like,
Let's
oh, my
mimic my
precious, you
cat."
okay?
So
so life, life imitates
Cat.
life
Cat.
imitates art, imitates life. It's very cool.
Why do his eyes get all big? Why is that like a cave adaptation? Does the ring
Probably.
like help him survive? Or
I
is-
think all of the above is correct.
Okay.
I like the cave adaptation thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my headcanon now. I don't care what the real answer is.
Yeah. I've got so many questions about the ring, but yeah, they're like, because I guess I thought it was kind of like a magnet where it doesn't really have a thought, but it just has this force and like it can attract other things. But so it does sound like it is living and makes choices. It's not just a force.
I think it's got a will. I don't know if it makes its own choices, because then it could move on its own. I would think also,
But it has a will of its own.
but it has like it wants to be kind of that stuff. It's one of those things where it's got only certain kind of characteristics, but it's still limited because it's the essence of his power. Again, it's hard to explain it, and so
Yeah, I have a
again,
hard
that's
time
why
wrapping my head around the
Well, and
logistics
we
of
have
the
two things that-
decision making it does.
Yeah, and we have two things at play here too, because we have the ring, which is Sauron's essence, wanting to be found and having a will, bending others to its will. Probably is a better way to put it. And then we have Sauron in his corporeal form as the necromancer during the Silmarillion-y Hobbity things, the Hobbit movies.
at
which are-
Dol Guldur.
at Dol Guldur, yep. And then, but also as the Eye So there's kind of like two, but they're intertwined. It's wild.
Yeah.
Ring stuff is
manipulation.
crazy.
It has more manipulation power than like I can go do this.
Yeah.
And gets people to do its will.
My favorite moment of Nick's during the movie was I don't remember when you said this, but I put it right at the top of my notes so I don't forget it. At one point, Nick stops me and goes, "Wait, why didn't Bilbo tell them how to get to Mordor? He had been there." To which I went, "Nope." Please read The Hobbit. But
Listen.
it's very funny because Erebor, which is the Smoky Mountain or whatever they call it, and Mordor are about as far away from each other as possible.
There are so many things that happen in these movies, and that was established 20 hours ago.
Yeah, it's hard.
I knew someone had been there already.
And you were like, "Oh,
I was like, wait, it was Gollum.
been
That's
there." And
why
I'm
he's
like,
leading them.
that would be why we're watching it.
Yeah. Classic
That was
Nick.
funny.
Lord of the Rings, man.
So let's jump right in with a huge change from the books, which is Saruman and Grima Wormtongue at the very, very beginning, which is deleted from the theatrical release.
Can we get back to this at the end,
Oh,
Oh.
please?
yes, because I know why. So we'll get back to it at the end. Please.
So there's their bookend, folks.
They get the Palantir.
So that's
We'll
not,
talk
so
about it later.
Saruman doesn't die the way he dies in the movies. We'll talk about it later.
And in the theatrical releases, it's really funny because like Two Towers ends with water in the Circle of Isengard, and they show like Saruman on his balcony, like there's water everywhere, and then you never see him again. That's just
Yeah,
that.
And again, a lot of people are
They leave him there, and it's like okay, which
Yeah.
in a way is kind of truer to the book.
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
But
And we'll get there. Just
we'll
because
get
I
there
want
at
to,
the
if
end.
we're gonna go in order, this and that's a better one to kind of. Let's get to this towards the end.
I really like Carl put this in his Craig Zavrizi story as he was making eggs or something or another. The scene that is one of the more hopeful scenes in a movie full of just dark, terrible. Like this movie is a bummer largely, but I really enjoy this scene. It is after, like we go back to Rohan after we get the Palantir or Palantir, however that you pronounce it.
Palantir.
They get the Palantir stone. And they go back and they're all like partying. It's the Gimli and Legolas drinking contest happens. And right as that's happening, or right as Merry and Pippin are singing
Great
the
moment.
Shire songs, Gandalf is just sitting against a pillar watching Merry and Pippin be ridiculous. And Aragorn walks up and they have a conversation about Frodo. Basically, like, I don't know if he's made it. And Aragorn asks him, "What does your heart tell you?" And Gandalf says that Frodo's alive.
Yeah.
And it's one of the moments where you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I really like that moment. I appreciate that a lot.
I remember watching those scenes where they're all happy and drinking and dancing, going, "Oh my God, I'm so happy right now," which means it's about to get so dark.
And it's a slower burn.
Yeah.
This movie. There are big moments. Pelennor Fields, mostly Pelennor Fields. Blackgate too, but that's very quick. But yeah, it's one of the moments where they kind of let you. They do a good job in a couple moments of letting you sit and be hopeful.
Yeah.
Especially with. Is it Pippin and Gandalf when they're looking out towards Mordor right before the Witch King of Angmar's light goes off and they're kind of hanging
Deep
out.
breath before the plunge.
That's
And
one-
we
You
still
think
got
it was
Gimli to keep us happy.
Gandalf's-
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You think
No.
it was Gandalf's optimism there that let Aragorn think that he like wouldn't believe the mouth guy later? Like that's why he believed or
Mouth
wouldn't
of
believe him?
Sauron is also removed from the
Theatrical.
theatrical release.
But I think it's probably a collective because at that point you're the hobbits like Merry and Pippin are believing, they're all in. Let's go, Frodo's. Let's do whatever we can to help Frodo. I want to. All my friends have gone to fight. I want to go too. So I think it's a collective hope, and this is one thing I want to. Which I have all the things I want to bring up. I don't know when to best bring them up. So I'll say this:
There's a lot.
Tolkien has one of his big writing devices. And I don't know if you'd even call it, but his philosophy on writing, and he uses the term. He created a term. The Greek word for gospel or good news is euangelion. Starts with what we would use as EU, which would mean good, and he uses the word catastrophe, but he calls it the EUCATASTROPHE, the good catastrophe. And so he writes the whole time with there's always this feel that evil's going to conquer, evil's going to win. However, good is going to be so catastrophically good, it's going to change everything. And this is where I want to get to again Saruman towards the end, where we get to all the ending parts. So almost let's talk about all of it with that in the back of our minds, that Tolkien wrote with this EUCATASTROPHE during during the height of Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin would be quoted as saying, Tolkien was wrong. Gandalf should have stayed dead. And everyone's response was, you have a fundamental misunderstanding of Tolkien, who, no offense, is a far superior writer. The history of Lord of the Rings is so vast and deep, but
and finished.
yeah, thanks. Come on, we're waiting on 6, if at most. But I've read all those books too, which were crazy. Anyway, but Tolkien uses the EUCATASTROPHE in the midst of all of it, and that's why I love Lord of the Rings so much, because there is always this little bit of hope that always exists, even though, because that's why, and so the EUCATASTROPhe is why Aragorn says, why Gandalf says, my heart tells me Frodo's alive, while Merry and Pippin won't give up.
And
And
Sam exists.
It's like chaotic good.
Right.
it's, no matter how bad, there's always good will win, and it's going to be catastrophic how good it is. So I love it.
I love that.
This is what I preached about this at Central.
Yeah.
So that's one Aaron always tells me, that's my favorite sermon ever, which I'll get to. The main point, I won't be sermoning on you guys, but it's so good. Anyway,
I don't want to. Well, I'm torn between two things. I don't want to go chronologically, point by point, because it's boring. I don't want to jump around too much. I want to
I know what you mean.
I want to talk about Pippin for a bit.
okay.
Because you have said a couple times throughout these 3 episodes that Pippin is one of your favorites, and I want to kind of know why. Because he's
He's
an idiot again.
He's a goofball.
In
Full
this
of the
movie,
took.
he looks in the Palantir and makes Sauron think that he's the Hobbit with the ring, because how would he know different?
Yep.
He pledges his servants to Denethor, which is stupid. And Gandalf hits him with the
So,
staff.
in all 3 of those things, I'll say again, the EUCATASTROPhe. He
true.
pledges his service to Denethor, ends up saving Faramir, and saving really the day. Gimli's the hero of the last movie. You could argue Pippin's the hero of this movie. And I'll tell you who the chief hero is later. It's not Pippin, but
isn't.
Pippin is this character who I actually wrote in my notes is what I wanted to say, and this is just something I thought yesterday when I was thinking of what I wanted to say. When Pippin realizes what's at stake, he's all in, 100. He's like, oh, let's go. And I think the moment where it changes for him is when Gandalf's taking him on Shadowfax, and he says, run, Shadowfax, show us the meaning of haste. But at that point, it's Merry and Pippin's conversation right there, where Merry says, take the last of my Longbottom leaf. You smoke too much, Pip.
Yep.
And he's like, will I see you again? Will I see you again, Merry?
I don't know.
And Mary's
know.
like, I don't know what will happen, because they literally are like,
They've never been apart before.
and so significantly. And Merry knows how big of a deal it is that he's going with Gandalf, but Pippin hasn't grasped it yet. But on that journey, and then when they get to Minas Tirith, he begins to understand. He comes to grips with Boromir's death and sacrifice. So him giving himself to Denethor, while awkward in the movie, because you're like, this dummy, is him realizing
it's a reconciliation moment.
He's committing, and also, so Tolkien, again, when he was writing a lot of this is based on Tolkien's own war experience.
in World War One.
Yeah, but he is saying, so this was in one of the books I've read about Tolkien and Lewis, that he wrote The Lord of the Rings as if the hobbits were like him, were them, and they're bachelors who just partied, and were forced to go off to war. And then, this is what's going to get, we're going to get to more of this later, but Frodo's the oldest hobbit. He's 50, and all the rest are much younger, and a hobbit comes of age at 33. So they can basically party. They're basically teenagers, what we would say, until they're 33. And Pippin's, I believe, the youngest one. So he's also the most immature. And that's why I think Pippin's such a big deal character, because his growth, and again, once he realizes, when he gets to Minas Tirith, he climbs that whole tower and lights the beacons.
That was sick.
Yeah, oh my gosh, what a scene.
Could he have
anyway,
done
I
that
could go on.
without being in the service of Denethor? Who's to say?
Yeah, and even with Gandalf being like, dude, and again, Gandalf even says at one point, a fool, but an honest fool. So he doesn't question, his heart's never questioned. And once his heart and then his will are like, we need to do this, he's all in. He's I think it's the field of Cormallen, where they're fighting at the Black Gate. I could be wrong in the name of that field, but in the movie, I don't know if this is in the books, in the movie, the first person to draw their sword besides Aragorn is Pippin. and then the
And then
hobbits both
then
run.
Mary,
for,
yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to that later.
get overtaken.
That's my Pippin. That's my brief Pippin moment, and I'll get to more Pippin at the end when I say here's how it actually ended here's the last chapter that was skipped in the movies.
I like as well. Speaking of interesting characters, I like the conflict of Theoden, because he's one of the more human humans.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
Boromir's
I'm with
very
you.
human as well, and Faramir too at times. I don't.
They're
think
good. They're good. Yeah, you're right.
They
That's
are.
so interesting.
I think Aragorn is too perfect to be relatable in a way. Like, he's very inspiring as a character, but I don't see myself in Aragorn because he's literally pretty much flawless. But Theoden, he's gone through Helm's Deep. He's gone through possession by Saruman or Grima, depending on
All of the
book or
above.
movie. All
Yeah.
of the above. So it's very interesting that one of the first conversations they have when Gandalf, after Pippin looks in the Palantir, which, yes, he's an idiot, but he does give them information, which is where Gandalf says he's a fool, but an honest fool. There was no lie in his eyes when he says that he gave Sauron no information. But what he did see was the burning of the White Tree of Gondor, which gave Gandalf the information.
Yep.
They're going to move on Minas Tirith. I need to go warn Denethor.
Yep. What's the phrase Gandalf uses? He says, we've been strangely fortunate.
Yes.
Again, which goes back to what you guys brought up in the first episode. The phrasing is so great.
It's amazing.
We've been strangely fortunate.
It's poetry. I love it. Now, Gandalf leaves. He leaves with Pippin, and Aragorn is left with this interesting situation of having to talk Theoden basically into saving Gondor. And Theoden gives that speech basically, where was Gondor when my walls fell? Where was Gondor
when the Westfold fell?
Exactly.
That's and
Like,
so that's Two Towers, but he has that attitude
it's the same
whole
thing,
time.
and
Yep.
he brings that up again. Tell me, and, cockily and angrily and
He's-
righteously
yeah.
so to a level
Sure.
of they didn't help me. I'm not risking what's left of my army after Helm's Deep
Totally.
to help him. And it
That's why when he says Gondor calls for aid,
And
everyone's
bro,
like, "What's he
there's-
gonna say?"
nobody breathes, and you can feel that nobody breathes because it's excellent storytelling and some of the best movies ever made.
And acting, yeah.
And then and Rohan will answer line. You just want to
Muster the Rohirrim.
throw
Oh my gosh.
pom-poms in the air and be like, ah! Like, and they're doing it! And it's the best. So Theoden, I find very relatable. He has one of the greatest speeches, I think. For my money, the last Ride of the Rohirrim speech is greater than Aragorn's speech at the Black Gate. That's a hot take.
No, I think they're both really good, but yeah, I love
But it is not
and
this
also
take.
go on YouTube and look up the Lego movie edition or the Lego video game edition of it, because when Theoden's riding past all their spears and hitting with their swords, he chops off all the points of their spears, and they're all just like. Anyway, the Lego movie or the Lego video game people are just having so much fun. Anyway,
this is the first time, speaking of that speech on Pelennor Fields, when the Rohirrim arrive, it ends. I'd never watched these movies with subtitles on before. I did it now because I'm old and feeble.
no,
and
it's
I can't
helpful
hear anything.
for names.
So one of the things that I didn't understand the first million times I watched this movie, and yes, I'm an idiot, I get it, was one of the last lines of Theoden's speech is "Ride for ruin and the world's ending," and then they yell "death"
Yeah.
like 3 to 5 times, and I thought they were just yelling.
Me too.
It's death was the rally cry, and Éowyn and Mary
Oh my gosh,
scream it,
man.
and then the horses go, and Éomer's there, and it's incredible, and that's one of the most inspiring moments
great.
to me. That was one of the first moments where tears happen in my eyeballs because I'm like, they're willingly. I mean,
Yep, they know they're
riding
gonna die.
horses into spear tips like the freaking War of the Roses. It's crazy.
And when the night before, or the 3 days, it's a 3 day journey. When they're still at the camp and they're like, "We can't win," and Theoden's like, "We cannot win, but we will ride into battle nonetheless."
which is great.
And there's actually one character in the background that goes, it's great. If you look in the background, one of the guys, his reaction, my friend Andrew and I have always been like, we just noticed it one day. We're like, oh my gosh, that's so hilarious.
Just looks at the camera.
He just
Jim
goes-
faces. Like,
It's like Jim.
And it's
Guess we're done.
Okay, we're going to die. Let's go. But it's great.
It's cool too because it's absolute leadership also in the absence of Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas,
Yeah.
who we jumped the shark a little bit. are on the Road of the
Oh my
Dead
gosh, there's so much to
during
talk
this.
about.
Which the Road of the
With the
Dead was
ghosts.
one of my favorite levels in the GameCube game Return of the King. 'cause it's friggin' awesome.
It's crazy. And when Gimli is blowing the.
Oh my god.
Okay, we need a really quick side note. The drinks we're drinking tonight are called Gimli's, and we upgraded them to add strawberries because do you recall the taste of strawberries, Mr. Frodo? Oh, Sam, I don't recall. Anyway, we added strawberries, so this
Briefly-
is called the Gimli Gamgee.
Briefly,
anyway,
a Gimli is
Gimli
just
game.
what if a gimlet was more?
and stronger, and it was done by accident.
It's
and,
double strength
we-
gimlet. I muddled strawberries in the bottom.
The first time I made it, I actually made it 4 times as strong.
yeah.
And that's why we call it the Gimli, because Gimli's so strong. And we added strawberries because of Sam. So the Gimli Gamgee. Cheers.
I love it.
Your first hint should have been that you were making it in a pint glass. I'll
Listen,
never forget that as long as I live.
there's never been a day in my life where I checked out. I was like, I'm so stressed. And before any of that drink touched my heart, I was like, I just need a night to not think about anything.
And
An addition
Well,
went right
good
out the
job.
window with it.
Good
a
job.
well-deserved drink as well.
What makes the
The Gimli
checks and
Gamgee.
balances for the sword, the ghosts? Like, how do they? What activates the new? How does that?
The ghosts,
They were cursed.
Why?
The ghosts
Okay,
are one of the more.
We can show you.
The ghosts are one of the more frowned upon things in the film, both CGI wise and
They're
plot
little,
device.
Oh, I thought their
OP.
CGI was
I think it's great too, and I was ready to look upon it very
Well,
critically, but
it's
people
weird.
don't
I thought it
like
was great.
What did you
They
think?
do skin over. There's like both things happening. It's like they kind of
fade
have
in and
skin
out.
over his teeth. Yeah, they kind of. So I think it just
You know
looks
what it reminded me
uncanny
of?
because of that.
We just watched Curse of the Black Pearl. It's kind of like the.
It's exactly like
Yeah.
that.
it's
yeah.
very similar to
just
that.
with a little
With
level.
Down-
Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
down to the
you
curse
go.
breaking and their disillusion and stuff.
Which
So
also, why didn't they let them? Like, why not keep them around until it's totally done and the rings?
because they
broken?
fulfilled their oath. You should bring the
So
Andoril
yeah,
out.
there's
Okay.
many notes to make right now.
There's actually
I'm with
wasn't
you,
done,
Carl.
done.
I'm like, just hang around. I'll set you free.
Yeah,
just
there's
like
20 more minutes.
give
in the
us
movie.
like
Just
2
hang out
more
for a little
days. Give us
longer.
like
You've
2
been here
days.
for eternity.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't want to stab anything
for
or anyone. Here's
for the
the sword.
listeners, he has Andoril. The
Can you see that? Is that good in the frame?
Yes, that is good in
production
the
team.
frame.
All right, so here's Andoril.
beautiful sword.
The Flame of the West. I
can't-
blade. I don't want to stab a cord either.
I can't overestimate how heavy that sword is.
It's not that heavy.
It's
You
pretty
can hold
heavy.
it. So
Cord.
this is Andoril. It was the shards of Narsil, which was reforged. So a couple notes. A couple notes on Andoril. In the books, Aragorn gets this in chapter 1, and Aragorn doesn't have as much reluctance to
Pass it
be
here?
the king in the books as he does in the movies, but he's not like all arrogant about it. In the so what Cameron was alluding to about the ghosts being kind of one of the things in the movie that people kind of complain about. The ghosts' only role in the books is to stop the Corsair ships. They don't go to Pelennor Fields and join that battle in the books.
Please don't lick the sword, dog. Thank you.
So be careful of your cord.
I'll stab it. I don't care.
So in the books, all throughout this, there's other rangers that are with Aragorn who are like kind of patrol and they protect the Shire.
Are they?
I forget all their names.
Are they Dunedain as well, or no?
I believe some of them are, but not all of them. But there's other rangers. So like Aragorn's not the only ranger.
Was that confusing?
It's so confusing. There's so much.
Dunedain is like a race of men. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, they're the
unnaturally long
Dunedain.
life.
Oh, I thought that was what Gandalf was. What was Gandalf?
Gandalf is a Maiar. And so
Maiar.
Maiar and Dunedain are not like not even like equal, similar categories of rank.
Apples to
Yeah.
tires, like very different.
So the Dunedain are descendants of Numenor, which is what they talk about in the Rings of Power show. But that's anyway. Numenor is where like Isildur is from, and so Aragorn is a descendant of Numenor who's blessed with long life. So, but
That's
not
why
all
he's 87.
So the Rangers aren't all Dunedain, but I believe some of them are. But so like one of the Rangers is the one who comes and rescues Frodo in the first movie, not Arwen. So that's,
Right. Oh, that was a ranger.
I think his name was. Oh, it could be. No, I think
I
it was
thought it was an
Glorfindel.
elf.
It might have been
I
actually.
think it's an
You're
elf.
right. However, in this
or
movie,
my reading comprehension is awful.
we'll go back and look. Someone will fact check us, and that's fine. 'Cause
Fax
there's a
us
lot.
the answer.
Yeah, fax us the answer.
Shadow
but
fax us.
Shadow fax us the answer. This has been great. That was 3 levels. We got there.
All right, and end of the episode. See you next week. See you in 2 weeks.
But yeah, so the Ghost Army doesn't go, and the reason that they're released is because Aragorn and all these people are all about honor, and he's like, no, I told you you'd fulfill your oath if you do this for us, and they did it. So he releases them. But Gimli again echoes all of our sentiment. Not yet. You can just go into Mordor, but again, there's a level of, and again,
honor and fulfillment.
and also there's a level
honor,
of. You guys say they're OP. Well, we don't want. And also, there could be. I don't know the
Same
answer
thing
to
with
this
the
one.
Eagles, like
Yeah, the Eagles has an answer
there's
that we
I
know,
know all
but
that
I don't know the
still.
ghost answer. But I think it is that they're just like, we
I
did
guess,
your
like,
one thing, so let's go.
Were they bound to that cave? Because it seemed like they could move around. It's like if I was an angry ghost, I would just kill everybody. Why would I not?
well, their bones were
I'm
there,
already-
so I'm not sure about that. I don't know if they were in waiting.
Maybe it was only
for-
because of the deal they made they could leave.
I think so.
Okay.
Now the,
So I was like,
That's
if
what
I
I've
was a
always thought.
vengeful ghost,
Sorry.
I'm not
There.
sticking to this
I hope
cave. I'm
that's
killing
fine.
everybody. You're
now
all
the,
coming with
the
me.
sword
You know? Like,
serves two purposes in those scenes as well, and really Elrond more so than the sword, because it also gives Aragorn basically the news that nope, Arwen did stay behind. She did not go to the Undying Lands.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
why he kind of friend zones Eowyn pretty hard.
but respectfully.
But
Yeah,
respect,
very kindly.
Very kindly.
he needed to be blunt.
You gotta. You don't want to beat around the bush. You want to be
Yeah,
direct
exactly.
and kind,
So he
as
learns,
a king would be.
He learns two things. He learns one, Arwen is staying, and two, now that she has basically cast off her immortality,
Yeah.
Sauron's evil is killing her.
Yeah, Arwen's dying, Aragorn.
And she's basically going to die unless Sauron is defeated.
So it gives him another level of like,
how did he
we better win.
infect her with
I don't
evil,
really
or-
understand.
It's not
that
infecting-
connection,
it's-
but-
from what I understand, and this is with no research, this is just what I've gleaned from the movies, is that the thing protecting the elves from the evil of Sauron was their immortality, and once they reject that, the evil is too much for them because they're basically
Okay.
pure.
So-
But
perfect
like
people,
every
but
other elf was fine though.
they were all leaving to the.
They were all.
Undying
That's why
Lands.
they were leaving.
So because they didn't have, they had the
What
intent
about
to leave.
Legolas?
They were
He's-
like, all right,
well, I guess he's still
fine.
got his mortality.
So yeah, it's
Oh yeah,
again.
Legolas.
So again, all these answers, we don't know them. I don't know them, but Tolkien has this is why it's Silmarillion. So the
Appendices.
website, yeah, the website, the one wiki to rule them all is their way. Like it's Wikipedia. It's the one wiki to rule them all. Might have better answers. So if you really want to go there, but Arwen gives up her immortality. And yes, it just starts killing her. But all the other elves are leaving because it might be that eventually it's going to be so bad. But again, to Daniel's question in the first episode, that I only have half of an answer to myself. But again, that's what I always say. Tolkien has an answer to almost everything. We would be like, but what about this? Did you ever find the clip you mentioned last night?
So I did, and I learned that it's fake.
That's so. But
So
it's,
here's what we're talking about: is there's a clip online about the Eagles, and it's supposed to be an interview with Tolkien about, well, why didn't the
I
Eagles
figured it was fake, but
go to Mordor? And his answer in this fake clip that's fake is, "Shut up."
So the answer, the answer, as far as I know, to why the Eagles couldn't just do it is because partly just like why the ghosts couldn't, like practically speaking, why the ghosts couldn't go, because there'd be no movie. There'd be too overpowered. It'd be boring. We wouldn't be here.
He was afraid
But-
to use them often, and in fact, throughout The Hobbit and the 3 Lord of the Rings books, the Eagles show up 3 times.
And so the
it.
head eagle is named Manwë, and I believe, and again, first chapter of Silmarillion, all kind of things.
and there's a guy named Eagleway.
Yeah. Eagle Path, I think, is actually his name. But Manwë, but it's W-E with a little asterisk kind of thing, an accent mark, I mean. Anyway, so I believe that Manwë is a rank above Gandalf as far as, but I could be wrong there.
Is he a Maiar or no?
I don't think that he is, but I could be wrong. I don't have this. I didn't bring the Silmarillion, but so
dare
he's they, as far as I know it, they can't go where just his own like character and his like hierarchy in the creation of Middle Earth, like ultra characters, they can't go where evil is. So that's why when Gandalf and all of them are there, they can advance there. Because you're like, well, why did they come fight the Nazgul then? Because they could only advance because the good has gone, and they
I
can't be
guess
the ones who
same
advance
answer
it.
for saving Gandalf from the top of Isengard.
He's
Gandalf
there,
was
and
there.
and that's not evil's not as present there because another question too about because you said the Uruk-hai can move without
In the
in the
sunlight.
sun. Well, you're like, well, the orcs are moving around during the day though, but if you see in the background, the clouds of Mordor have extended. They're blocking out the sun, so orcs can move freely because Mordor's will has extended so far. Sauron's will has extended so far, and the eagles can only come in when good has invaded, and all of them are there, and so then the eagles can come. So they can't go. The eagles can't just take them there, practically and like in the lore.
See how much better he is at this movie?
This is the perfect example for my understanding of these movies. Because like 5 minutes ago, I went, the Eagles are there because Gandalf was there. Like I get why. I just don't know why.
Well, and there's a beyond what I can even say as well. Go ahead.
What did you were making a finger raise?
Sorry.
So silly after what Josh just explained, but since we're talking about the caves,
What character would Larry the Cucumber be?
no,
A just question, my liege.
just something that always very much concerns me because we're talking about
Concerns?
them going into
love
the
it.
caves to go get the ghosty boys.
As
Whenever-
Tolkien would have written it.
BOIS.
Horses like run away from their riders. I'm really worried about them. Like, I wrote down the names: Brago and Legolas's horse
Brago.
just run away.
Yeah.
Is Legolas's horse the name?
I wrote down the name.
I only wrote down one name.
Brago and
like,
Legolas's
like
horse.
Bill. At one point, they said Bill free.
Bye-bye, Bill.
So disrespectful.
What? It's Bill okay?
Hey, Aragorn said, "Don't worry, Sam. He knows
But
the
we
way
don't
home."
know that for sure.
We know that for sure.
I'm just saying.
We could have got
I'm
one
always-
like 3-second scene.
I'm
of
gonna
them being
Google
fun.
Bill the Pony.
No, don't.
I'm not.
Don't.
I'm always really concerned
You don't
about horses.
Remember, I have
in
notes
movies.
for a lot of this.
Oh, I will not.
We'll get
Google
there
Bill the
later.
Is Brago okay?
I don't know about Brago. Anyway, let's get. All right, I want to go back to let's mention a couple Eowyn Faramir things because Eowyn
Mary's Faramir at the end. Spoilers.
Hey.
Yeah, I had questions about
and
that.
oh, go ahead. I want to hear your questions,
Well,
and
it's just
maybe
like,
I'll
were
have
they
answers.
a thing before the movies? Like they seem
Or did
sweet on
she
each other.
settle?
Okay,
Yes.
No.
yes and yes.
that's hardly settling.
What were you gonna say, Danielle? Because this is a good question.
Oh, I wasn't going
Oh, I
to
thought
say
you
I
had
that.
a
wanted to
question.
talk
So-
about this.
I
to
was
give
just
some
saying
romance.
Faramir and Eowyn because Stan.
Yeah, no. Well, Faramir in the books is like one of the best characters, and
They're a smart
so
match.
when Aragorn like says, "Hey, we're not gonna do this," she accepts it, but then she's married to Faramir. That is in the books, and in fact, we only know the name of one of their sons, of Faramir and
Oh, I know
Eowyn's sons.
what you're about to
But
say.
the oldest son is the son who wrote the history of Aragorn.
Aragorn and Arwen.
So he is the one who was like the historian who wrote the account of Aragorn. So
Which is how cool Tolkien is, because that's a title of one of the appendices for Lord of the Rings, and Tolkien gave the appendices a canonical author, which is awesome.
yeah.
good.
There's so many cool notes, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to bring all these in. This is a
At
good
some
time to
point, we
bring
need
one
to
of
just
them.
start slinging
Yeah, I'm gonna
questions
Silly question.
and notes.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
Do,
question.
do
I-
all
Silly
wizards
questions.
sleep with their eyes open, or is that just a Gandalf thing?
That was so good.
I don't know that one.
Waving the hand in front. I'm going to do something so naughty, and
then
Mary's
the-
back there going, Pip, what are you doing?
Oh my
And
god,
then the switch to the bucket.
it was pretty sleek. I don't know
Like
the answer to
Indiana
that.
Jones.
I don't think they do.
Oh god.
That's
Next-
great
next-
acting, though, man.
Next silly question.
yeah. Beer me a silly.
Rapid
Silly-
fire.
Silly question.
Was that it, Carl?
Oh, I thought you had one. I thought you had one. I can find another one.
Go for it, Danielle. Question.
No, I was saying next for Carl.
Oh, okay.
This isn't
sorry.
a silly question, but it was just something I kind of noticed that was probably a symbolic thing. At the very beginning of the movie, Aragorn's sleeves were like a muted red, and the king, whose name I forget, Fenrir, the other
what?
guy that was possessed by Wormtongue.
Theoden.
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 Theoden. He had dark, like bright
what the
red
hell you
sleeves.
said,
I figured. I don't know. There's so many names. I probably did an amalgamation of all of them, but
Yes.
his sleeves were like red. So I figured that was like foreshadowing of kind of Aragorn charging up to become
I'm
king.
colorblind, so I never noticed it. But it could be like in purple, like in the Bible, purple's the royal
royalty.
color. So it could be that red's a royal color for a lot.
Yeah.
That's a good observation.
It was just muted red,
Good
full
skin.
red. I was like, okay, that's probably symbolic.
Can we? I want to say one more thing about Andoril. I love in the Road of the Dead, Path of the Dead, Way of the Dead, whatever that's called, when they're in the thing, and basically the leader of all the dead dudes, the king guy, our Barbossa character,
He does
swings-
remind me of Jeffrey Rush.
He does.
Yeah. It's not Jeffrey Rush. But I've always
swings
thought that.
his sword at Aragorn, and Andoril can block it, and that's when everybody's like, oh, this is legit, and I love that, and it's super cool.
Yep.
Just a visualization of, it's the first, like, obviously we have the Elrond and Aragorn conversation of like, hey, and in the books also it's a plot point that Arwen's not allowed to marry Aragorn until he becomes the king of Gondor, is a plot line in the book that I looked up on Wikipedia before this episode. So, but that blocking of the ghost sword is, it really just is one of our first solid, solidifying, concrete moments of, Aragorn is turning into the king of men. Aragorn. Yep. He's not gonna be the ranger anymore.
Yep. Put aside the ranger.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Like, and it's
a great
pretty
moment,
pretty soon after the Elrond conversation, which Elrond raised Aragorn after his parents were killed. So it's just the best. It's a good movie.
I was laughing so hard at myself because at the end of the last episode, I was like, guys, should I know who the king is in Return of the King?
And
then like 5 minutes in, I went, oh.
Okay, so I want to say something about this, and I think that Nick, this is a great gift because I'm like you. I don't guess at movies. I'm not sitting there trying to predict the end.
That's true.
And I think I think you should cherish this because I do. I do about myself. I'm so bad at predicting movies. I don't, and I also just don't. I let the movie do its work, and that's that's the most fun way for me to almost like I made a Gimli without realizing I did. Is when you want to turn your brain off and let the story tell itself instead of me trying to figure it out. And so I really appreciate that you didn't, because I know that's how I watch movies. So I think it's a beautiful thing, because also that's why Tolkien didn't want to name the third. Like, his publishers were like, these are your titles: Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King. And he hated Return of the King because, like I said,
on
I think
the nose.
it's too, oh, well, okay. And also it's on the nose of they're going to win.
Right.
Like Return of the Jedi,
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith. At that point, we know what's going to happen anyway, but alas. Anyway, so I think that's a great thing, Nick, actually. I love it. Because you're watching the movie as a passive observer. Let me just hear the story. I love it. I think it's really good.
I have a couple more things I want to bring up. Well, I have a million more things I want to bring
Me
up.
too.
One of them is I'm a horrible person to watch Star Wars with because I cannot help
But quote the movie 3 seconds before it happens for the entire movie.
I did a good job in Lord of the Rings, except for one moment, and you were laughing at me, which is The Way is Shut. It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it. The Way is Shut.
That's a great...
The reason I know that is in the Return of the King video game.
Yeah.
Steven and I died so many times. I've heard that line a million billion times.
Yeah.
So I love that line. Gimli blowing the ghosts away. I wrote that Gimli is one of the most relatable characters in a similar way that I think of
Theoden.
Faramir, Theoden, and Boromir. Now,
I love Gimli.
I want to go to...
My goodness.
let me think. I want to talk about that in a minute. I want to talk about Pelennor Fields briefly. Just as a visual battle, not what it stands for and represents. And what
forever.
Hilarious.
What is that?
It's Strawberry Fields Forever, but So
I love it.
one of the seminal lines in our Legolas Gimli humor breaks that we often get during battles, their kill count.
That are also in the books.
In the books, which is excellent. Is when Legolas brings down the Oliphant by himself, and Gimli yells.
And he kind of looks like...
It still only counts as one when the Oliphant falls. Now, on this watch through, I wrote down, Legolas is awesome, but Éomer did take down 2 Oliphants with 1 javelin.
Ooh.
Yeah, he totally did, man.
So,
minus hot points.
Éomer's kind of awesome.
Dude, Éomer rules.
Also, it's not blatantly stated in the movies, but Éomer becomes king after Theoden's
He does.
death.
He does.
And he rules.
Wait,
Which
not
one was Éomer
Éowyn?
again?
No, Éowyn's under. She's
the
younger.
sister.
But I feel like Theoden kind of was like...
He thought Éomer was
So-
going to die too.
In the books, that conversation happens with Éomer, not Éowyn.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I feel bamboozled and I'm mad about it now.
Well, also, just
You
like...
got a strong female character though in the movies, which I think is very valuable, and it's one of those changes that. Now we were actually watching last night the Fellowship of the Ring, like behind the scenes
Yeah.
DVD, but someone put it on YouTube. It's 2.5 hours long just for that one movie.
It's on there, though.
And one of the things that I found really reassuring for my love of these movies, because normally I'm a source material stickler. I mean, you heard me on the Dune Part 2 podcast kind of be a little bit grumpy about the changes from the book.
A little
Some
bit.
of them I refuse to not be grumpy about. But Christopher Lee, who has read Tolkien, the late Christopher Lee, who has read Tolkien every year for decades, said that some of the changes made, or all of the changes, he's made a blanket statement. The changes that were made for these movies are acceptable and in some ways improve
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
the source material. And I
Interesting.
believe that is one instance of that really helps our story forward. It brings a woman into more
yeah.
prominence.
And I,
Because Lord of the Rings, this isn't a knock, but it is a reality, is the domain of white dudes. It's just how it is.
from a long time ago, too, from like the 20s or whatever,
Well,
right?
this
40s.
was written in the 50s, but
Yeah.
Hobbit was 1937.
Still a long time ago. But however, I would say that like she would have been close to the next line, and that's why like in
100%.
the
If Éomer had died,
he just
she
was
would have
also
been queen.
oh he was also like you said older, so just in the general line. But Éowyn still, and this is the Pelennor Fields we got to talk about, that she kills the main bad guy besides Sauron. Like
The
Gandalf
Witch King
says
of
to
Angmar.
Gandalf says to Pippin, Sauron has yet to reveal his most dangerous servant, the Witch King of Angmar.
Which is an interesting line because he has been present for the whole
So
movie.
he's been present, but not revealed as his full form. He's been
yeah.
there. He says to Pippin, "You've met him. He stabbed Frodo on Weathertop." So, but they didn't. He was only looked like one of the other 9.
Which I
You-
want to
They
bring
didn't
up
have his
something
helmet
about
on.
Fellowship of the Ring, which is when Arwen and Aragorn and Frodo has been stabbed, and there were 5 Nazgul on Weathertop. And Arwen has the line where the other 4 are, I do not know. I do. They were chasing Gandalf.
Sure, yeah, they just didn't know.
They just didn't know, but those 4 were pursuing Gandalf as he pursued Gollum to get all that knowledge.
Yeah.
And stuff. Things happen a little bit out of order in the
Interesting.
movies. So the 9 split effectively in half and
Yeah.
sent 5 after Frodo
Right.
and 5 after Gandalf.
Yeah,
Or
but-
4 after Gandalf.
But to get back to Éowyn, like she is and her and Mary again, just like you said, it's the story of the least of these. Mary and Éowyn combo kill the most dangerous servant who would have beaten Gandalf maybe. You know, when he comes on
That's
Gandalf. And I
what
forget
I
in the
don't
books
get.
how that goes. But I will break you, and he breaks us.
It happens very similarly to the movies from what I understand. Pippin does
Good.
stab the Witch King in the leg, and that opens Éowyn up.
Or
Mary.
Mary. Éowyn.
Mary stabs
Yeah.
the Witch King
No,
in the leg.
in the books, yeah, that's how they kill him, and she says the line, "I am no man." So like Éowyn definitely in the books is still a
good.
pronounced,
Awesome.
powerful character.
Awesome character.
And her marrying Faramir is like a big deal too. So she's definitely not in the books like this. It's not like the movie might do a little bit to pronounce
Elevate her, yeah. I think it's a
However,
great change.
It's still very present in the books because she kills the most powerful servant of
She
Sauron.
kills the Darth Maul of our story.
Yeah.
Darth Maul.
You hyped up the Witch King's helmet for the first 2 movies. Really excited to see it. And it lived up to the hype. It was pretty dope.
And his mace.
I think that the Witch King's helmet is better than Saruman's helmet, and that may be a take. But I
Barely
love,
get to see.
I
Sauron's
remember the
helmet.
Witch King.
I
but
love
don't
the
really
Witch King of
remember.
Angmar's helmet. And for me, it's the open mouth. Sauron
Yeah.
is very like he almost has like jail cell bars across his face. Like it's very
They're both
slashed.
Yeah, it's a good.
They're
helmet.
both very.
Very susceptible to
In the
being
same way
stabbed.
that the weapons of the orcs and Uruk-hai are very rough hewn and squared off, and
Very
they're
crude.
The dogs are fighting. They're very crude, and there's an ominousness. Which shout out to Weta Workshop. I mean,
Yeah, man.
legendary. Like every race.
What is that?
That's the effects company that made everything.
props and everything. Armor.
It's the ILM. To
Again,
the
this
Lord
is
of
why.
Rings.
Again, we'll say it's worth your time to watch the behind the scenes,
Yeah.
It is. It is. and
especially if you
it's-
like the production
My,
side of things.
My first watch for something related to this movie that wasn't the movie was Mary and Pippin's podcast today.
Yeah, it's
It was
great.
very
man.
good.
The
Elijah
friendship
Wood was on
onion.
an episode.
It's great.
You
man.
should.
It was
I think you
incredible.
could. He's mentioned the wiki a couple times. You could crawl through that for days and days and days
Yeah.
and days and not run out of stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions revolving Pelennor Fields? You have to have more.
Uh,
Carl,
let me
too.
look- look at my
Regarding the
Pelennor Fields
fields, not really.
Or just they battle.
I got questions about the powers. Like, I don't understand how he can lift his sword and just destroy Gandalf's like staff, but
yeah,
then it's
that-
susceptible to
that
knives.
puzzled me as
That seems
well.
crazy.
The Witch King breaking.
I
the
mean,
staff
Sauron
just with
power
his
is my
words,
best
but-
answer. I don't
yeah.
know the answer to that one, but I just kind of
And then it
like,
was kind of disappointing. Gandalf didn't use magic like at all.
Daniel was
He
He
also.
fights with a sword.
The whole time I was yelling like, "Just use your magic!
Just blind him. Just blind him.
Yeah.
Turn on!" I think I kept saying, "Just turn on your lights."
I figured he wasn't magic
We
after
don't
the
have to
staff broke
explain
or
why he
something, but
can't do it.
I
I,
think-
know it's
Well,
reasons,
and on a
but
level, I think Gandalf is letting things play out.
and again, at some point, he would just be so overpowered.
Right.
it's just sad.
But-
I get sad when I have to watch so much death.
Yeah.
Which by the end of the movie, I know
Yells
there's a
a lot.
reason for it, but at the same time, there's no reason for it because it's like, well, it's all over now and everyone's just dead.
That's a Theoden line during his darkest moment in the Helm's Deep battle. He just has so much death
Yeah.
when they're trying to break the doors down. To
So
get
it
into the
just
keep.
hurts my heart to watch. So I'm like, just do a little bit of wizard magic and make it a little less.
Oh, I want to.
Or keep the ghosts around
Like
and let
when
them
they
destroy
send
it.
the soldiers back to Osgiliath, and then they
the
unleash.
suicide mission.
Yeah, they unleash the arrows at them, and it kind of cuts there. I just, it hurts.
Lots
me.
of that's one of the moments, and they do it a couple times throughout the films where they cut all sound.
Yeah. It just is
And
like,
it's very
Oh my
good.
gosh,
And
yeah,
it's-
those
Oh,
ones are
what was
great.
the note?
Gothmog just yells fire, but you see his mouth do it, and you don't hear anything. It's very
As,
cool.
oh,
Yeah, that was cool.
To take it completely off subject, but talking about sound, I notoriously don't really pick up on music.
Right, which is alien to Danielle and I as musicians.
I'm with you though. I don't really pick it up.
I think
This one.
I've said this.
and we're like, it's concerning hobbits again. Like,
I think I've said this before. I think me not noticing music speaks to how good the music is. Like it's just a
It's not a
part of
distraction.
the whole thing.
Sure, it's not a distraction.
But no, picking up on sounds.
it's just musicians versus.
sorry, I
non-musicians.
was just like, it's a
At the
distraction.
very beginning, whenever Smeagol's
Like the Smeagol Deagle flashback, very
Deagle,
beginning.
yeah, Deagle, is that the
Yeah.
That's the other
when
guy.
Desert Eagle.
when he's choking him
Desert Eagle.
and murdering him?
Oh, yeah,
you
that
hear his
sound.
heartbeat
And the heartbeat.
slowly.
But it gets quicker and then it slows and stops.
dude, that
Very
was
good sound
incredible.
design.
But we need to talk about that. Oh no, go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say at some point we got to talk about her.
Okay, I want to get there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to say one more thing, and maybe you have another thing to say. I just a
Several.
quote I missed that is more Gimli comic relief, which is Aragorn immediately tries to go the way of the dead alone, and Legolas
Yeah.
goes, "Have you learned nothing of the stubbornness of dwarves?" and Gimli though goes, "We're going with you, laddie. May as well accept it." And I'm like,
So good.
to me, that line is great, but almost immersion breaking because I hear John Rhys Davies and not Gimli in that moment. When he says laddie, I'm like, that's John. It's very good though. It's perfect. No, I want to talk about her unless you have something to speak on before we
No.
move to
Go for it.
Shelob. So Shelob for Carl and Nick and maybe you. I think I saved this. Shelob is the thing that I was alluding to in Two Towers that they moved to this movie. So both
okay.
both Shelob and the reclamation of the Palantir are from Two Towers, and they were moved to Return of the King. The Palantir is the seeing rock that Pippin looks into.
Okay.
They get that in Two Towers, not in Return of the King in the books, which again I have not read, but I have read Wikipedia.
The internet. The internet.
It was moved to this movie really to give Sam and Frodo something to run up against, because that happens in Two Towers. And now I have not read the book, but it seems like from what Peter Jackson, the reason Peter Jackson moved them was like, hey, it's a lot of them walking to Mordor, and we need to have them come up
yeah,
against.
different medium.
So it's a change that I'm totally fine with. Now, I paused the movie when they got to, you remember the tunnel name, and I don't.
Which tunnel?
The Shelob's tunnel.
The
Starts with a
spooky tunnel?
C.
Well, it's called Cirith Ungol.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We get to Cirith Ungol and we start. I wanted to pause
name.
it before we saw any spider webs.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I
yeah.
missed it, but I paused it soon.
I don't,
Oh, I did not.
I don't
Where
think it registered.
He didn't
It did
pick
not,
up on
absolutely
it.
did
and
not.
I said, Nick, let me find it.
I feel like I had a good guess too.
I wanted you to go more in detail with your guess, but it's okay.
I said, Nick, who do you think she is? And you wrote down somebody. I wrote down your answer roughly, and you thought that she was going to be. Burp, I've had a lot of beer. Someone Smeagol knew, which is not a bad guess.
Not wrong.
That is actually
Very easy guess.
That's actually 100% correct because the background is
you knew
that
it.
Gollum had previously fallen into Shelob's lair and he was too like slimy and gross to eat. So he basically was like, "You spare me, I will bring you food." And he ends up bringing her lots of orcses, which is why she wants some.
She
sweeter
doesn't
meat.
like them very much, does she, Precious?
And he said, or maybe the owner of the ring, which is a little obtuse because the owner of the ring is Sauron, or who the ring is made for, which is, again, Sauron. But,
but
your first part, someone Smeagol knew, is correct. What did you expect? And what did seeing Shelob, because we see her in the background when she's curled up and then the legs come out. What did
so
that do
creepy.
for you?
Immediately made me just like fall
Heebie-jeebies?
into myself and go, "Oh my god, no! I don't want this.
Like Ron
I don't
Weasley.
want to watch this.
I hate spiders.
I hate it.
Yeah.
The,
I save spiders.
Him getting caught in the web and then getting spun up,
scary.
nightmare fuel.
Yeah, man.
Like it's awful. Absolutely hated it. I don't like spiders, and
don't
that
either.
was a big old spider.
She's gross.
I hate
Is there
looking
any
at-
like any other story around her other
Yes.
than she lives there?
She has a mother.
Oh gosh, what's their name? I forgot.
I don't
Dang
remember
it! Hold on,
either.
I did. This wasn't anything I was prepped
I'm gonna
for.
Google it.
Can the
No.
spiders
You-
understand
yeah,
I won't
words,
tell
or are
you.
they
No,
just
go for it.
beasts?
Do what, Carl?
Are they just beasts? Or
Ungoliant.
can they talk?
Sorry, go ahead, Carl.
Are they just beasts, or do they talk and know how to do things? Like,
Hang on, go ahead,
sound
Carl.
Like Smeagol was making deals with them. Do they talk, or do they?
Worst podcast ever.
Sorry.
I don't know. I'm certain it's in the book. I know even less about Ungoliant, which is Shelob's mother. Nor do we know, like, we know, I think we know that Shelob and Ungoliant weren't Maiar. Like the, oh my god, my brain. Durin's Bane, Balrog. The Balrogs are the flip side of the Maiar coin.
I don't
So-
know anything about Shelob.
as
I'm gonna be really honest.
Gandalf is the angel version of Maiar, the Balrog are the demon version of Maiar. So they are like the second tier of the pantheon of quote unquote gods that we
And
have.
there's
in
multiple.
Lord of the Rings, and there's many tiers.
In the Hobbit movies, there's a lot more spiders, and that is in the book.
Right.
One thing of the movie.
There
yeah.
are Mirkwood.
I did
Spiders,
when
they're
I
nasty.
when I saw her, I expected like little baby spiders to be around.
Mirkwood.
No.
Watch The Hobbit. Don't
There-
watch The Hobbit.
Yeah,
but
there
watch The
have been,
Hobbit.
of course, babies in there, but yeah, no.
So, and Shelob does have children. Shelob has lived there in whatever he said for a long time. Gollum knew her. She moved there, I think, around when Sauron erected his tower, which the name escapes me. Minas Morgul, maybe? No.
I think it is Cirith Ungol still,
Cirith
and I
Ungol.
think that's
So-
where.
and she hangs
I could
out
be wrong
there,
there.
and murders orc
Murders
and
people.
stuff.
Yeah.
So that's essentially
will
that.
say-
There's lots of lore. I looked up her lore, and it was a week ago, so I forgot a lot of it.
I don't know much about Shelob really.
I was, after it was all said and done, a little disappointed with who her ended up being. I thought it was going to
Really?
be more like integral to the story.
I mean, it is.
It is.
I mean, it is, but it also was just a thing that happened and then they moved on.
there are also changes.
But Sam
was
had
just
to
kind of an
kill a
obstacle.
gigantic spider.
that was the best
No.
part.
Sam had to kill a one-on-one.
Shelob's fate is purposefully ambiguous. We don't know.
Yeah,
if she's
she-
Oh,
dead
that's
or
true.
not.
She just kind of
However,
We don't
falls
he-
back into the
He
cave.
He-
fought her and made her
He
go
won.
away.
Correct.
He
Yeah.
definitely won
Now,
the fight. Yeah.
the thing that I want to go, I really desperately want to read these books, and it's just my own mental fortitude that needs to strengthen because they're difficult to read.
we'll do a book club.
But
I like it.
in the Two Towers, from what the impression that I got from reading the Wikipedia was, or the wiki, was that Sam and Frodo fought Shelob together because they had
Nope.
not separated. But I'm not 100% on that. I think it is different than in the
I don't-
movie, certainly.
I
but
don't remember that, but as far as I remember, and I've only read them through once, but Sam was the one that fought her and still beat her.
100, that is true, but I'm not sure if they were separated by
And
that.
you
But
grab Sting and
Sam that's really when that whole collection of scenes is really when you're like, all right, Sam is like, because Sam and Frodo have a lot of conflict. Right before that is one of the most gut wrenching scenes. In fact,
Which
Yeah.
when they start climbing the stairs in front of the Witch King's lair.
The dread
which
just
I
builds.
think that's Minas Morgul is
Yeah.
the Witch King's house.
Yeah.
Dogol Dur, that's the Sauron's tower.
No, wait, that you're right. It's Minas Morgul. Dol Guldur is somewhere else.
Dogol Dur is the Eye Tower. Minas Morgul is the Witch King's lair. So they're climbing the stair. I got up and made a drink because I loathe, and detest because it breaks my little heart. And I'm not an emotional person.
Oh yeah, when Sam gets
I
sent
didn't
away.
cry at my wedding. I won't cry at my wedding.
I like
wouldn't.
I won't,
I could
future.
I could have 1,000 more weddings, and I would not cry. But
however-
these lines of "No, Sam, it's you" after the share the load slow motion, and Gollum's like, "See, he wants it for his own." "No, Sam, it's you. I'm sorry, Sam, but he's a liar. He poisoned you against me. You can't help me anymore. You don't mean that. Go home."
So
I remember watching these movies for the first time on my portable DVD player in my childhood bedroom, weeping at that scene, and I did not know if I could finish the movie. I was so
a very
emotionally
different reaction.
and viscerally affected. Even there's a reason that I have not watched Lord of the Rings in 6 years, and it is that scene.
That's wild.
That is the most.
Because
I'm
it's
affected.
gut wrenching. Yeah. What's your reaction?
I mean,
Nick?
it sucked, yeah, but my immediate reaction was, Sam's not going to have that. Like, this is just not how it's going to go.
You knew you'd come back.
I knew he'd be back.
Yeah. I mean, I felt that too,
didn't.
probably. However, it still sucks. You didn't. Yeah.
I got sold. I thought.
Yeah.
If I know anything about Sam, it's that he is loyal to what he said he was going to do, and
Don't
nothing
you
is going to
leave him,
change that.
Samwise Gamgee, and I don't mean to. So, and then we get, obviously you fight Shelob off. Shelob fricks off into a
Little cave.
outcropping, and we never see her again. It is literally, to the lore, unknown what happened
She's
to
still
her.
out there killing orcs to this day.
But, Frodo gets stabbed by her stinger, poisoned, wrapped up. Sam comes.
I hate
rescues
seeing
her.
Elijah Wood wrapped up in that.
When
like,
he
rough.
separates the web and he's all pale.
it's a
That's
moment
pretty
that I
rough.
can't separate like the film from the actor. I just see the actor and I'm like, that's so embarrassing, and I hate it. I hate
How
it for-
embarrassing.
How
to quote
embarrassing.
Jesse.
You're gonna
You're thinking like, all right, cut. We need to run it again.
Yeah.
And he's just in his cocoon, like looking all pale.
That's horrible.
He just phasing
someone-
character.
Someone runs by with
After
a
they
cup with
cut
one
it.
of those '90s bendy straws and gives him a little drink. And he's like,
spritzes him.
How
down.
long was he in
Elijah
that?
Wood all tied up and gets the
That
ick.
was hilarious.
I hate it.
But
I love it. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to hate it, but yeah, that's so
know.
funny.
what I find very
So embarrassing
interesting.
is hilarious. It's I just never thought you were gonna say embarrassing. It's so funny.
What I find very interesting is that
Secondhand embarrassment.
I do though.
Sam takes the ring,
Man.
which I think is brilliant. He takes the ring, he takes
Oh,
Sting,
that was
and he
good.
That was
takes
a good
Important.
reveal.
the
That was
light
nice.
of Galadriel.
Well,
Genius.
But he leaves Frodo because he goes, not sick or sleeping or whatever. He says, dead. So he leaves him, and then the orcs come and he goes, this one ain't dead. And he'll be awake in a couple hours. Then we'll show him what true pain is. And Sam goes, Samwise, you fool. And I love that
Yeah.
because it's just brilliant
Could he have
storytelling.
moved him away, like on
I
his
know,
own?
But like
Well, that's
Think
his.
about-
He said you fool. Yeah.
we ramp up Sam on a high, and then we immediately crash him back down into seemingly
I
hopelessness.
just feel like could he have gotten him and scurried away in time, or would they both been captured?
and
you
it's
know?
what we spent probably less
yeah.
than 20%.
I feel like that's like an Eagles
that's
explanation.
how the movie ends.
Yeah.
Just both of them spun up.
We spend probably less than 20% of the film in Mordor, and yet it's the highs and lows are really high and really low,
Yeah.
and it's brilliant.
I always forget that he gets taken by the orcs, and then I always forget too that they all just basically kill each other, and Sam can
And
just kind of
that's so good.
And it's in the book. That's true.
Really?
That's true.
I mean, I
yeah.
love that. Like, that's awesome, but I
great.
always forget. And I'm always like,
Almost-
how did
I
they get out of
particularly-
this? Oh my god!
I liked that scene because I was like, whenever you see Frodo get stabbed with the stinger and then you see him spawn, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to come back from this. Like, I can't wrap my
love
brain
it.
around how this movie is going to move forward now that Frodo is in this predicament.
Yeah.
I like too that of all the Mordor scenes, almost all of it is in the theatrical release, apart from when Sam and Frodo are wearing the orc disguises and they go down the hill.
That's
Oh
great.
yeah, you're right. That isn't.
That whole like regiment, like, oh, punch me, hit me, or whatever. None of that's in the book. They basically don the orc disguises and then walk up.
Well,
the
and
mountain.
again, this is why the word EUCATASTROPHE in Mordor, when Sam and Frodo are in Mordor, all these moments are so bad, and then they win. They move forward. They some hardship. They move forward.
And we very, very quickly get, in the theatrical release, we have a little more, we have the whole Mouth of Sauron scene, which is not in the theatrical release and stuff. We have those scenes, but we get one of the greatest lines, I believe, in all three movies, for my money, is, come on, Mr. Frodo, I can't carry it for you.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But I can carry you.
Can I back up to a line before that, and then we get to that?
Please.
So when they're in the middle of the fields, when they're in the middle of Mordor in the books, and actually they use this line in the Rings of Power at some point. There's a moment where they're just resting, and they're in like they're kind of hidden, right? And the orcs are all gone. The only thing between them is like time and distance and
the weight of the ring.
Yeah, Frodo is just resting, and Sam is resting, and he look. Actually, this might be in the movie. I think they do have this in the movie. This quote, and Sam looks up. Yeah, it is in the movie still. So it's in this and the Rings of Power. Sam looks up and sees a star far, far off.
Yes.
And in the books, I remember when I was reading them through, I wrote like blogs about the four hobbits and their key kind of moments, which is I'll bring up Pippin's later. And this is Sam's key moment for me, and we'll get more to Sam later. Is he looks up and he says, and he realizes to himself, this isn't his conversation with anyone but himself. There's light and high beauty that no darkness can touch. And it's his realization that hope and goodness will always win. And my only goal here is to try to help it win here and now, but good will always win. And it's Sam's moment of real, and this is like, and this is how like C.S. Lewis has the book, The Problem of Pain. You know, they all talk about suffering. And this is Tolkien's answer to suffering. That suffering is always going to be present, but good will always win. And there's victory beyond this life that will always be successful and good. And Sam then uses that as his continued motivation to win and to be good. And this is where I'll bring home Nick's point from the first movie, which was Sam's your favorite character. To Tolkien, the chief hero of Lord of the Rings is Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah.
Because of what you just all said. He's loyal. You knew he was going to come back.
Yep.
And Tolkien did as well. Sam, at the end of Two Towers, Frodo says, Frodo never would have gotten far without Sam. And that's Tolkien's whole point.
Yep.
Is that friendship and love are worth so much. And Sam is, I'm going to cry. Sam is the chief hero. Sam is the chief hero of Lord of the Rings. Because Frodo never would have he saved him from Shelob, you know, all these things that Sam does without Sam. He takes the ring, and again, we'll get to more of that. Again, there's so much I need to bring up. When we're done talking about everything, we'll get to the actual bookend. But Sam is a ring bearer at one point, which there's only 9 ring bearers.
Yeah.
And he's a ring bearer, which grants him certain things.
That's crazy.
And Sam is the chief hero, which is why he has the last line in the book, which is the same line in the movie. Well, I'm back.
Yeah.
That's a book. Anyway, Sam is the chief hero.
And to that point, too, one of the hobbits, I don't remember which one, makes a point in an earlier film, I think, to note that the stars were all hidden. So when we see that star point, and it's a pinpoint star, it's not like a large star in Mordor, right before they ascend Mount Doom, he says, look, there's a light there. It's a literal tiny pinpoint glimmer of hope. And right after that is when Sam picks up Frodo and says, I cannot carry the ring for you, but I can carry
Which is
you.
what a great
Such a
moment,
good
man.
line,
Because, anyway, Sam is the chief hero.
A lot of my favorite lines were there at the end when they're in Mount Doom. And it's not even a line, but one of the things that stands out is when you see, it's after they drop the ring.
Oh, God. I have a
which
line.
we should talk
I hope
about.
it's the same line that you have.
Well, it's not even really a line. It's just you see Mount Doom explode, and then with no audio, you see Pippin mouth Frodo.
Yep.
And he's just weeping.
Yep.
Oh, my God, dude.
Oh, but then after that, because we have the whole Black Gate, and the ground crumbles, and the orcs fall, and then they flee. And And yeah, we're thrown into uncertainty about what happens to Sam and Frodo until the moth comes to Gandalf. And we're all like, eagles, baby.
Man way.
But before the eagles pick them up and before Frodo and Sam collapse, Frodo turns to Sam and I've said greatest line of the movie a million times, and I'm going to say it a million more. But one of my favorite lines is, "I'm glad to be with you, Samwise Gamgee, here at the end of all things."
Yep. What a line, man. It's great.
I mean,
Similar.
all of my notes here in my phone are not notes; they're all quotes.
Yeah.
And that's I don't do that for most movies. I do that for Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and there's the two series I know well.
Yeah.
And quotes are what bring me to moments, and at the end of all things is very interesting, especially since shortly afterwards, Frodo, in the writing of the Red Book of Westmark, basically ushers in the Fourth Age. So it isn't the end of all things. It's the end of the Third Age and the beginning of a fourth.
In a way, it is. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's also similar to what he looks to Sam and says at the end of the first movie. When he turns around, he's like, "Sam, I'm so glad that you're here with me."
Yeah.
Whatever.
After Sam nearly drowns trying to get to him.
Yeah.
And then the moment between all the quotes we've just said, when you guys have alluded to when Concerning Hobbit starts playing again, kind of thing on the mountain, and Sam's like, "Do you recall the taste of strawberries, Mr. Frodo?" And Sam's like,
"No, Sam, I can't recall the taste."
And he says, and this is where, again, the phrasing, when he says the sound of water. And I think back to all the phrasing, the beauty of the phrasing, which even when Gollum then, at the beginning of this movie, talks about his descent into Gollum, he says, "I forgot the sound of trees." Tolkien has this way, and this might be, I don't know if this is in the books, but I kind of assume it is, but they have a way of saying the secondary way you recognize something. Because you don't think of trees by their sound. You think of what they look like first, at least for me.
You know what he means.
Totally. And it brings you into the second way of knowing something, which is like you experience it. And it's the sound of water, which you think about drinking water, but the sound of water, which brings me the sound of trees, the sound of water brings me to the place of peace. And, and then again, that's when they're talking about all this stuff, and Sam says, "Then let us be rid of it once and for all." And it's all this moment of the speech is where the music plays.
I think and that's again part of our praise of Tolkien's writing and how it is very poetic, and he was a linguist. And it reminds me of Carl of a quote that Jeff has in the earlier episodes of Harmontown about how the English language is being diluted, basically.
Yeah.
To before, 50, 60, 100, 200 years ago, we had 20 words that meant one thing. And today we have one word that means 20 things. Mm-hmm. And we just have our language sucks. And so
we've given commercial appeal to words.
Right. We have yeets and keck W's and you know what I mean? And things that I say too, my Twitch chat brain rot. But all of the people that I look up to as far as writers and comedians and poets and things are people that have a very strong vocabulary and a very good grasp on the English language. Jeff Davis is one of them. Greg Proops, Tolkien, Obama, for God's sake.
Do you mean
his character
Foden
Phantom
Bede?
Menace? Yeah. So, and I think that Tolkien is like, that's why it's part of why reading Tolkien is difficult. And there was another book I read recently that, for God's sakes, I can't remember, but I ended up having to Google a lot of the words. Like, what the hell does that mean? No, Dune is different because you go to the appendices because you're like, that word doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Frank Herbert's inventing it. But there was a book I read. It's Nick Offerman. Nick Offerman's vocabulary. He's another person I really look up to in every facet of a way you could look up to him. I've read all of his books. I've listened to many of his talks at colleges. I find him fascinating, and his vocabulary is amazing. And you'll read his books, and you'll come across a word, and you'll go, "What does that mean?" And you'll look it up, and it goes, "Oh, it means to throw something." But it's, you know what I mean? It's just, I really appreciate that, and it makes me wish I read more. But I'm an idiot, and I just played Brotato all night. But Tolkien's the same way, and it's a shame what English has become, and I'm not helping fix it at all. But I recognize the tragedy nonetheless.
But anyway, Language,
digress.
man. We digress.
Yep.
All right. So my question is what else do we want to talk about from the movie? Because I have
Well-
like
I have
non-book
a
things that I
couple
want,
more
which I'm sure there's plenty. Let's.
We should get to the ending too.
I have a couple more things, and they're all with the Black Gate. So the Mouth of Sauron isn't really super worth bringing up. He's the most unnecessary of the deleted
I
scenes.
thought he was
to me.
kind of silly.
He is a little bit silly. It's
I think it's super creepy and weird and gross
is
and
gross.
scary.
Oh,
and it's
also,
all.
Just
I have a
his
token. I was
mannerisms were
spitting.
just like
What?
it was
Well,
just like
they're
They're
cartoon.
supposed to be
What are we
off-putting.
talking
Yeah.
about?
the Mouth of Sauron, the dude that
Well, it
throws
just came
the
off
mithril,
as, like, goofy
the mithril
almost.
I gotcha.
shirt.
I gotcha.
Oh yeah.
So hit one of the Carl. And speaking of goofiness, Peter Jackson was trying to think of ways to make him creepier. So his mouth is digitally enlarged in the movie.
Yeah.
But one
Yeah.
of the things they tested was turning his mouth 90 degrees so it would be vertical, and it didn't work.
It was like uncanny, but not in the way they wanted.
No,
for me.
there's a reason he was cut. I think that one of the smiles are used very interestingly in this movie.
And you can hear it.
Frodo smiles. He's very somber looking before he goes to the west, and then he turns back and he smiles. I think that's very poetic. But before that, there's a smile that Aragorn does right before he charges the Black Gate, where he has his sword out. You mentioned that Pippin draws his, and then Merry, and then everybody else. But Aragorn turns back to the group. He says, "For Frodo," smiles, and charges the Black Gate to certain doom.
Ooh. I had a question about that because he was like looking at the Eye of Sauron, and then Gandalf kind of looked at him and like did a hand wave. Was there like a mind control thing maybe happening?
I'm not even sure what you're alluding to.
No,
'cause
I
I'm
don't
an
think
idiot.
so.
It was when Aragorn kind of looks over and sees the Eye of Sauron, and then he kind of looks
The
back.
mouth of Sauron or the eye?
The character,
eye. This was before this is when he says for Frodo, I think, and he like kind
Okay.
of looks back, and like Gandalf kind of looks at him a little bit concerned almost, and kind of looks like he did a hand wave, and I
not
thought
sure.
like Sauron was trying to get into his head or something, but then he just turns and it was just like a misdirection to give us suspense.
think it
I
was
don't even
anything.
remember that. So good on you for picking something.
I thought it was. Oh, I was
puzzling
just
everybody.
like, what happened there?
That is
don't
the
think it was
origin
anything.
of the Jedi.
That's really the
Yeah.
last
I probably just
thing.
made up a scene.
I mean,
Just
it,
look-
it feels criminal on one hand to like gloss over Gollum biting Frodo's finger off, but I mean that's
Oh, yeah.
means,
I
forgot
that's
about
kind of
that.
means to an end.
Well, again, he's the tragic hero, and so he's still a villain. But without Gollum, they also wouldn't have gotten there.
we need him. It's said multiple times.
when Faramir's all like, "Are you taking him to Kirith Ungol?" No, that's really the only way. Like Gollum's like, he told me to take him to Mordor. Like he has to go there. It's going to be dangerous.
Well,
and
at first
so
he was under explicit directions to bring him to the Black Gate. That's what Frodo says.
Right.
You will take us to
Gollum-
the Black Gate, and then it doesn't work. So there's
Yeah.
one other way he knows.
right, and so he's the tragic hero, and at the end he still turns and he ultimately dies with the ring. Gollum dies with the ring. He has what he wants, and he dies. And so he's the tragic
So
hero.
was
happy
gonna be-
ending.
Happy ending for Gollum.
All's-
Just what he wanted.
I do want to go to the end if we can.
I have some
what
questions
what
about
order
the
do you
end.
want to do things? Do you want to do Saruman before the Undying Lands?
Do all the movie things, and then I'll get to the
Okay,
non-book stuff.
let's talk about the Undying Lands, which is probably if you didn't sob at Go Home, you would sob at Frodo, Bilbo, and Gandalf leaving behind Merry, Pippin, and Samwise.
Especially Sam.
And also the handing over of looking at my papers because I
book.
am an idiot. The Red Book of West March, which is the in canon story of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I don't need these anymore. I'll put them on.
There and back again, A Hobbit's Tale by Bilbo Baggins and The Lord of the Rings by Frodo Baggins.
So a couple lines I have written down, which first, before we get there, is the crowning of Aragorn. And Elrond, true to his word, as soon as the crown is put upon Aragorn's head by Gandalf, reveals that Arwen is there veiled, and it's basically their wedding.
Two notes.
Because Elrond said that he could not marry Arwen until he was the king of Gondor. Go ahead.
Okay, two notes. First of all, it's a movie thing as far as actors go. Liv Tyler found out that probably she was going to have to kiss Viggo Mortensen's stand-in body double, and she said no. No, because it's well documented by the actors that they loved having Liv Tyler on set because it was a bunch of guys, and she was like there.
And she wasn't there the whole time.
Yeah,
her
because
scenes are few and far between.
yeah.
So she flew back and forth.
So when she was there, they were like, it was so bright, so joyful, so kind, because she was so warm and loving. They were all like her brothers. But when she found out she was going to be kissing the body double, poor guy also who didn't get to kiss Liv Tyler. Poor guy. She said, "No, I got to kiss. It has to be Viggo."
Right.
And so okay. I have a funny note. That's the funny note, and then like a big time best side note of all time, which I have 7 best side notes of all time. Okay. When Aragorn, actually, let me find the page of the book it's in.
Why would it be the stand? Why wouldn't Vigo kiss her anyway?
I don't know.
Maybe he had other scenes to
Bringing
shoot
the
on
stunt double, like that's crazy. Like,
I don't know.
okay.
Who knows? But that's what it's in the behind the scenes, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so on page 169 of Return of the King, here we go.
Nice.
I'm going to open my book. Also, I got to give a few shout outs. First of all, these cups were bought for me for my birthday one year by David Anderson. Shout out to David Anderson.
Thanks, David Anderson.
If Dave were here, we're having a lot of fun, and I am loving this. David would make it 10 times more fun. So David Anderson,
We'll
shout
fly
out
him
to
in.
you. He bought these for me.
We'll fly him in next
My
time.
mother-in-law gave me these copies of Lord of the Rings. Caitlin's mom, Linda, which is spelled with a Y, which is so cool.
I actually have.
This copy.
I have the slightly older series.
I
of those
love it. So
paperbacks.
I've become an unintentional and now fully committed a collector of different editions of Lord of the Rings. And these are the ones my mother-in-law gave me.
What's on the cover?
This is the picture of... I'm not totally sure.
It's Gandalf and somebody.
Okay,
Looks like
okay.
an elf.
Who? Yeah, I actually don't know.
Like,
I
what's
haven't
it
really
say?
looked at it too much, but we're going to find out. That's why it's so cool to see all the art.
Also,
so
why are
Caitlin's
they
mom
on a
gave...
mountain?
Caitlin's
Yeah,
mom
in
gave these
snow?
to me. Yeah, it's Caitlin's mom gave these to me, and I now have, I think, maybe 5, 6 to 7 different editions
Oh,
between.
I only have 2. I'm a scrub.
It's great fun. I've inherited a couple, and anyway, so I had to give a couple shout outs. I might have more. I can't remember.
Where
There's a
is
couple.
my copy of The Hobbit?
Okay, so page 169. Here is the line. Let me make sure I'm on the right page. Okay, about Aragorn. Okay. The hands of the king are the hands of a healer, and so shall the rightful king be known. How did Aragorn first enter Minas Tirith? As a healer to heal Éowyn and Faramir. The prophecy about who the king of Gondor will be is that the king will first come to Minas Tirith to Gondor as a healer, which to me is this, like, I'm getting chills. It is the coolest thing because
Well, Éowyn was
Aragorn
made sick by stabbing the Witch King.
yeah, she had her whole arm shattered.
yeah.
She had her whole arm shattered. Éomer's also, man, shout out to that actor when he finds his sister, he thinks is dead. Anyway,
dude.
but Aragorn
Also a cut scene from the freaking theatrical release.
so Aragorn first comes to Gondor as a healer, which to me is so beautiful because he's both healing the land from evil, from just death, like everything's destroyed. There's death. The king will first come to Gondor as a healer. And our best leaders are those who first seek to mend. And Aragorn is that.
And to that point, and to that end, when he's crowned, he looks out. He turns around and looks out upon, in essence, his subjects. This is, I believe, before or after the Arwen. Doesn't matter. The 4 hobbits are there, and they bow, and he goes,
That-
no.
Oh my gosh,
You-
That
bro.
gets
You-
me.
Every time.
That was the first time I cried in
My
this movie.
friends, you bow to no one.
Okay,
and
another
the
note.
hobbits stand, and everyone bows, and you can see there's discomfort in all 4 of their faces.
Not Pippin. If you go
But
watch
not
it, if you go watch it again,
God,
go watch
he's
it
so
right
good.
after this. Mary, Frodo, and Sam are all just like
Frodo is-
overwhelmed.
Frodo is very uncomfortable. He's like shifty eyed.
And Pippin has this smile on his face. Yeah,
I've earned
you better bow. I freaking love it, and that's why Pippin is my favorite character. But Aragorn, the king of Gondor, will first come as a healer, and to me, that is the best note of what a king, what a good leader. This is beyond Lord of the Rings. What a good leader should be first as a healer. Let's heal,
Big
let's
man.
mend, let's grow together. And he's first as a healer, and he saves Faramir and Éowyn. And because again, in the books, Tolkien, like Faramir is one of the best. If you read the book, Faramir is one of the best characters.
Yeah, he's
And
never tempted by the ring in the
Faramir's
book.
amazing. Besides that, Aragorn will first come to Gondor as a healer. Anyway, that's
How-
my note.
how strong
One
is
of the
this-
most important.
How strong is his beard during those scenes? He really, he really grows that
Good
mug
beard
out.
game.
It's a good one.
Doesn't he get a haircut a little bit too, or he like
I'm unsure.
restyles his
It's
hair?
just conditioned and not scraggly. You know,
He's
He
not
gets
been
a-
at war.
He gets
he
a
took a
brush.
bath.
He gets his first bath in
Yeah.
87 years.
Yeah.
I never knew conditioner went after shampoo. I thought you were conditioning your hair for the shampoo.
Oh,
Nope.
That would
Anyway,
be
I
incorrect.
haven't used conditioner.
No, I have
Forever.
I have two
Yeah, I
more
don't have
lines.
that problem.
Yeah, go for it.
Two more quotes.
Sorry, that's a sponsor note for shampoo.
One of them is
Papa Tui.
Shampoo is our sponsor.
so at the
I mean
end,
conditioner. Sorry, go ahead.
at the end of our book or of our movies, essentially,
Yeah.
we have a 4-year gap. They get to the
Yep.
Shire.
Right.
Sam goes after Rosie
Rosie Cosby.
Yeah,
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah,
He
I
goes
know,
after
right?
her. They have that whole scene. There's a 4-year time jump. And
Yeah.
effectively, I believe Frodo is made the mayor of the Shire or something to that effect.
Sam is the mayor of the Shire
What
7
does
times
Frodo-
over.
What does Frodo get? Because he gets some position.
I don't think
And
Frodo
he-
actually gets anything because he just is there for 4 years and then leaves.
Gotcha.
To
And
the Grey Havens.
His every anniversary, his wound from Weathertop
It still is hard. It
hurts,
still is
and that's
painful.
why he goes to the Undying Lands.
So that was my question
I was
around
going to
the
ask,
ending is-
does that wash off when he goes there?
To the Undying Lands, of course, but that's why he goes.
Where-
That
Okay.
becomes more and more crippling. as
So-
years
and
go
that's
by.
where he's going with.
He also never fit in there.
But there's a line that Frodo has when he's finishing the book, and it is, it's at least one that I wrote down. How do you pick up the threads of an old life?
Yeah.
How do you go on when deep down you understand there is no going back?
Yep.
And that is, I've said favorite lines, but that's the most poignant quote for me
That's great.
that I
Yeah,
have
I'm with
written
you.
down. How do you go on when deep down you understand there is no going back? Is a very poignant quote for dealing with sorrow, change. I love that.
He deals very clearly with trauma. You know, he
He's-
acknowledges
of
it,
all of
you
the
know?
fellowship, he's the most afflicted.
Yeah.
With no, and Gandalf says as much. He's like, that's gonna kill him, or that's going to change him forever, not in a positive way, but he's the only one who could do it, though.
And so he goes to the Undying Lands, and later on, many years ago, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Of him going to the Undying Lands,
So-
Gandalf has a quote: "Here at last, on the shores of the sea, comes the end of the fellowship."
Yeah. And so a few notes about that part of the story. So Sam is then elected the mayor of the Shire 7 times over, which will give the precursor to that shortly. There's 2 things about the Grey Havens, and buckle up. Are you ready?
Yep.
First of all,
we're venturing, by the way, out of things that I don't know anything
Okay,
about.
so this isn't going to be too many
Into
things.
things
I don't know that many things. Sam goes to the Undying Lands because he is a ring bearer.
He held the ring at one point.
He was a
after
ring bearer.
Shelob.
Sam go. Okay,
What is the significance of
the Grey Havens is where the Undying Lands is where the elves go. So that's where Arwen was going to go. That's where Elrond goes.
Oh, okay.
Where
The
Gandalf
only-
goes
that's
and
the-
Frodo at the end of the movie.
That's the elves' eternal land, and to be welcomed there, there's only I don't know of any men who go there. However,
I don't think, because Gandalf's not a man.
Aragorn does still die. Aramir dies.
And
Faramir
by the way,
dies.
Aragorn rules for I believe 120 years. in
Yeah,
Gondor.
I'm going to pull up the dates here and give us a timeline.
He lives over
later
200
on.
years.
Later on, I'll give us a timeline. But Sam goes there. Also, okay, I have 2 more notes.
Wait,
About
but
this.
This is all your
ahead.
territory past this point.
Legolas goes to the Undying Lands.
Good.
Taking with him Gimli.
Gimli.
Yeah,
Gimli.
love that.
Gimli goes to the Undying Lands.
That's his +1.
That's his you get 1 + 1 Legolas. Choose wisely. Gimli.
I know exactly.
What about
who.
dying side by side
With
by
a
a friend?
friend. Oh.
Boy. And as far as I can remember, that's in the books too, but I'll have to go double check that one. Okay. One more. Go ahead.
What is
So
she?
does he leave like when Frodo leaves in the book? Or is it
No,
later
no,
on?
no. It's much later on.
Okay, cool. He
It's
doesn't-
much
I didn't
later
know.
on.
So from
Let me
the
find the
movie-
actual dates,
from the
'cause he
movie
has just the
basis,
dates.
It seemed like that was the last ship.
Well, that makes me happy they're all reunited.
Okay,
Not all.
Danielle.
Well,
Merry and Pippin.
A lot of, well, whatever.
Danielle, here you go.
Wow.
I didn't tell you I was going to tell you at the moment I was telling you to wait for.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to find the page. I'm going to read you the quote. Hold on.
Alright,
Please
okay.
pause.
No,
Just
we have all the time
talk
in the
amongst
world.
yourselves. Let me find the, let me find
You
the
go to
page this is
Undying
on.
Lands. Do you
Okay, here we
stay
go.
the
All right,
age
hang
you
on, what is-
are?
No, go
So
ahead.
Is Frodo still like whatever his young age, and then Sam's just an old dude hanging out with a kid now?
Well, I think the Undying Lands would be heaven in a respect. So like Frodo
To
would
have,
be
like, your
healed of his
evergreen
wound.
buddy?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's the closest parallel I can think of.
Okay, yeah, here we go. I actually don't, I don't know if that's even told because it's just the new heaven and new earth kind of thing for Tolkien. So I don't know. I don't know how old Sam
it's
was.
not- Lord of the Rings is an allegory, so it's hard to draw parallels. You have to be loose.
Yep. All right. Buckle up for this last one. So Gimli goes with Legolas. Sam gets to go. Here we go. Okay. On their way to the Grey Havens in the movie. Here we go. On September the 21st, they set out together, Frodo on the pony that had borne him all the way from Minas Tirith and was now called Strider. Fun note, but not what I'm telling you. Not the main point of what I'm reading. And Sam... Are you ready for this?
I'm
I
not.
have to, you're gonna have
Are
to
you
look
ready
you
for
in
this?
the eyes. Okay.
And Sam rode to the Grey Havens
Did he ride Bill?
on Bill.
Hell yeah!
Bill, so
Bill lives.
Bill Nye the Science Bill the pony.
Goes
Absolutely.
to the Undying Lands.
So
Yeah.
Aragorn says at Minas Tirith, he knows the way home, Sam. And who knows horses and ponies better than Aragorn? Bill 100% makes it back home and is reunited with Sam.
I'm
and
so
Sam
happy.
rides Bill the pony to Rivendell and back home. Bill the pony, safe, and is the most important pony of all time. If I love cool names, if I ever own a pony and if we have a daughter, I plan on it, I will be naming that pony Bill.
Bye-bye, Bill.
Bill the pony 100% is so like
Yeah.
Kate,
You're gonna say you're gonna name your daughter Bill.
Caitlin.
If I ever have a daughter, Bill. Not my son.
No.
My daughter.
And hey, you know what? I won't. If Graham wants a pony, he's got it. And of course,
Yeah,
I want a pony. Anyway, so for Caitlin, anytime a horse dies in a movie, she's like, "I'm so sad about the horses."
But think about Bill.
Listen, Bill 100%.
Bill's the goat.
From freaking the mines of Moria, he makes
yeah.
it back to the Shire. He knows the way home, Sam. And Aragorn's not
love it.
wrong. Anyway,
From Khazad-dûm.
there you go.
to the Undying Lands.
That's one of the most important notes
I'm so happy.
I can make. All right. We need to get. I know this is going a long time.
No, we're
I need
good.
to get to the book ending.
We have 30 minutes left, so
This
roughly.
is even if no one watches the whole thing. This has been the most fun.
Nobody
I've had,
does.
man.
Hi, Emily.
Hey, Aaron.
Hi, David.
David.
No,
Shout out to our listeners.
we need to talk about. If you have no other notes, we need to move to Saruman. But
Yes,
if you
well,
have
that's-
other notes, we will.
Let me-
of course, abide them.
Okay, one note. Speaking of dates, this is an important note that I wanted to save for now. The Fellowship departs Rivendell on Christmas Day, on December 21st, December 25th. Sorry, my tongue was twisted. Anyway, I think that's an interesting note.
They depart where? They go to the. Undying Lands?
They depart Rivendell and Fellowship of the Ring on Christmas Day, on December 25th. It says that, December 25th. That's an interesting thing because Tolkien's Catholic, so that's a big day for him, obviously. So Christmas Day is when the EUCATASTROPHE, and again, the EUCATASTROPHE is begun.
Interesting.
The journey of good going to set out to win
Man, I gotta read.
is begun. It's worth it to
Got
read
like
it.
12 hours of plane. So.
Here's the problem. I
Mordor-
feel like I've spent 12 hours in the Council of Elrond.
Okay, when you let me know whenever you want me to go into the final chapter that was taken out of the movie.
No, I want to hear about that so
Okay.
bad, but we have a half hour, so if you have other notes, go ahead. But I can't imagine we'll spend
Okay.
30 minutes on the you-know-what of the Shire.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give you. I'm looking through here. I talked about. I've got all these 25 notes I wanted to say. We got to a lot of them.
Anything else either?
Okay. Gimli.
Wilhelm
Yeah. Any
screams,
more
which was
questions?
fun.
I don't. And again, I don't know everything.
There's two
the Wilhelm scream is totally in there again. And
There's two of them. In
There's
Return
one
of
in
the
the
King.
Two Towers too.
There's one in Two Towers. There's none.
Where's
in
the
Re-
second one? I know there's one when Legolas is fighting on the Oliphant and the guy falls off. Where's the second one?
I couldn't tell you, but I remember there being
They're
two.
pretty
'cause
close
I
together.
They
There's an-
continued the theme of hiding like in plain sight and not being seen.
There's another one in Pelennor Fields. There's two Wilhelms.
So interesting.
It may be when At one point, there's a Gondor soldier that falls off the wall into the Urks, and I believe it may be there, but I'm not 100%
Okay.
sure.
One of the guys was picked up by the lizard bats.
That may have been it. It was when he was picked up by the fell beast and thrown.
Now might be a
He's like,
great time
there it is.
Okay.
to break
Whenever you're ready, I'll do some.
All right,
for the restroom.
Okay.
let's do a quick intermission, and we will
I'm the
come back
worst.
with Speed's new note. All right, we're back from Nick's potty break. And
I have another drink. I'll have to pee in 30 minutes.
wow.
well, we'll
Set
get
your
this.
clocks.
It's like it's almost
That's fast.
10:30 p.m.
That's concerningly quick.
So
All right.
I
Josh,
should go to the doctor.
we have one more thing to talk about, and it's the ending of the book that is not in the movie.
All right.
There's a
One more thing.
huge plot point, and it has to do with Saruman. So go.
All right.
go.
One more thing that will lead us to a few key points that will get us back to Fellowship and then to the end.
Back to
Okay, so Saruman does not die. In the book, Saruman dies in a different way than the movies. In the movies, though freaky and scary and crazy, he falls off the Tower of Orthanc. Go ahead.
Are you going to talk about his movie death beyond this point?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
Can I
yeah,
mention something?
I'll talk about his movie death. Just jump in whenever.
You know the Christopher Lee thing I want to bring up, probably. So.
Oh, bring up the Christopher Lee
can I
point
bring that
now.
up really quick?
Yeah, this is
So,
great. This is great.
I mentioned in the Fellowship episode that Christopher Lee served as a impromptu advisor to Peter Jackson
Because he had met Tolkien and also.
so Christopher Lee is one of the most interesting human beings in history. He was a Nazi hunter during the war. He was a distant, I don't think direct cousin to Ian Fleming, and was the actual real life inspiration for James Bond. And one of the ways, the hallmark way in which he helped Peter Jackson in these movies is during his death scene in Two Towers. Nope. In Return of the King, where Grima Wormtongue stabs him in the back. Peter Jackson had it in the script that Saruman would scream in pain when that happens. And Christopher Lee, out of experience in stabbing people in the back during World War II, said, "You do not scream when you are stabbed in the back because you puncture a lung. You inhale sharply." So that is why Saruman, when he's stabbed, goes, because that's what happens. Your air leaves you by an inhale because you have a hole in your lung. And he knows that because he was stabbing Nazis during World War II because Christopher Lee is, sorry, Dos Equis,
amazing.
man, he's the most interesting man in the world.
Can we drink to those that have passed? Christopher Lee, Bernard
Christopher
Hill,
Lee, Bernard Hill, Ian,
the others.
Ian Holmes or whoever
He
played
has
Bilbo,
passed,
he
yep.
passed as well.
Drink to these actors, man.
Please,
my God.
and long live Ian McKellen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tolkien and Lewis, of course.
Oh,
The
God bless
Inklings.
it.
Let's do an Inklings episode. Let's do one Narnia so I can rejoin you
I would
later.
love to do the
Yes.
line. Danielle, can you write this down? I would
Narnia.
love to do the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
It'd be great fun.
What?
I haven't seen that
Narnia.
in forever.
You haven't, yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the final chapter in Lord of the Rings. It's the second and final chapter. It's called The Scouring of the Shire. So Saruman does not die that way in the movies, or in the books, I mean. In the books, Saruman goes home or goes to the Shire and takes over the Shire with a band of brigands and thugs. So the hobbits are done destroying the ring and they go back home. Okay, before I get there though, on their way home, they stop off at Bree and they go to the Prancing Pony. And okay, you remember my first
the innkeeper is he still
my
around?
first the innkeeper. Remember my first episode? I said the innkeeper Barliman Butterbur. He tells Gandalf that the hobbits went with Strider, and
Yes.
Gandalf's like, "Oh, phew, that's good news." And he says, "May your beer be under an enchantment of surpassing excellence for 7 years." On their way back to the Shire, Gandalf, the hobbits go home to the Shire by themselves, but they stop off at the Prancing Pony, and Barliman Butterbur is like, "Ever since you were here last, our beer has been great." And so Gandalf doesn't say that as a joke. He 100. So you think Gandalf's overpowered? Well, he is. He can make your beer. So that's why I want to go to. Let's just go ahead and sponsor Infinite Big Hammock. You make great beer. Watch this episode, and may your beer be under an enchantment of surpassing excellence for 7 years. From Gandalf and me to you. Anyway, so that's
I love it.
That actually, so another that's almost like on the same level as Bill the Pony being safe for me. So, okay, so they go there, and the four hobbits go back to the Shire. When they get back to the Shire, they discover that the Shire has been overtaken by Saruman. Grima is there. I believe Grima is there, yeah. And a bunch of like thugs. These men. These are men.
Men from the south?
I don't know which men they are. They're just men that have. They might be the wild men. That
The wild men were from the south,
yeah.
and then the men with the Oliphants were from the east.
Either way, they're men that are following Saruman. So Saruman takes over the Shire. And the 4 hobbits ride into town and realize the Shire's overtaken. All the hobbits are basically enslaved. Some of them... So this is alluded to in the movie in one moment, the Mirror of Galadriel, when Galadriel tells Frodo to come look at the mirror and see what will happen if he loses.
Oh,
And there's also...
Fire.
That actually happens in the...
crap. Yeah.
That actually happens in the books.
I brought that up in
Yeah.
our first episode, and Speed told me to shut up.
I said,
'cause he
wait.
wanted to talk about this.
I said, hold on. So anyway, and this is the exclamation point on why Pippin is my favorite character.
Here we go.
Not because he kills all the men by himself, but because they get back home to the Shire. Sam and Frodo have obviously done the hardest thing of all time. Merry and Pippin are wearing... Merry has all his Rohan gear on, because Merry and Pippin are made like, of course, like elite. They're like essentially made as like honorable royalty. That's the easiest way to say it without knowing for exactly how to say it right now. Pippin is wearing his Gondorian everything, his armor. He's got the shield. He's got the the tree on his breastplate. Everything.
Oh, nice.
And they get to the Shire, and these men confront them, and they basically challenge Frodo. And the first one who jumps off his pony, his horse, and says to this again, Pippin, 3'5". Though, side note, Pippin and Merry become in history the tallest hobbits of all time because of the ant draft that Treebeard gives them.
Love it.
Anyway, he jumps off his horse, draws his sword, and says, "In the name of the king, you do not know who you're talking to. Stand aside." To like 5 men who are there. Pippin, this tiny hobbit, now with full, strong authority, knowing that the word of the king, even if I lose even if Pippin knows, even if I jump off this horse right now and you kill me, if you kill me, just
Aragorn's
FYI,
coming.
Aragorn's going to be coming behind me and going to wipe you out. And Aragorn doesn't need to, because the 4 hobbits rally all the good hobbits in the Shire to retake the Shire from these strong, huge men, and they reconquer and retake the Shire from Saruman himself. Saruman's renamed Sharky in the book, which today we don't like, but again, remember, Tolkien knows language better than any of us do. And so Saruman has taken a new name, a whole new identity, and he takes over the Shire, but the hobbits retake it. And again, this is Tolkien's whole point. Don't let that take you out of this, because it did me at first, but then you have to just say, okay, this is what it is. Tolkien's whole point is that I once was a person who didn't care to take responsibility for my life and where I was. The hobbits are taken out of where they're pleasant. We have like Pippin at one point says to Merry when they're at the Entmoot, we have the Shire. And Merry then helps him to realize the Shire will be gone if we don't do something. Pippin, and this is why I love Pippin so much. But all 4 of the hobbits, they help retake the Shire, and I believe it still is Grima who kills Saruman.
Okay, good.
I meant to reread this last night, but it didn't happen because we were playing Star Wars trivia.
Which I lost.
I know. I got lucky. I got very lucky. But so the hobbits so Saruman overtakes the Shire, still does die, I think, at the hand of Grima. That could be wrong. Like, fact check us in the Discord.
What becomes of Grima? Do you remember?
No, I really don't remember off the top of my head. I should have reread the chapter, but it just didn't happen.
Email us at thebigroompod.
I'll email you, yeah. But the Scouring of the Shire gets retaken over, but the hobbits retake over the Shire at the very end from Saruman. And, okay, here's the big part that I love so very much. And this is why Sam not only to Tolkien is the chief hero, but why to me Sam is the chief hero. And this is where my sermon really culminated when I preached back at Central forever ago. So the gift Sam was given at Rivendell by Galadriel was not the rope. The rope that was so strong that they tied around the rock, and then he's like, "It's one of my knots, Mr. Frodo. It won't come loose easy."
And then it does immediately.
Sam is the gift that Sam gets from Galadriel is a seed of the like core tree of Lothlorien.
Oh.
So the elves, like that's the heart of elfendom on Earth is Lothlorien.
Right. Which is where Galadriel is and Kellinor or whatever his name is.
Celeborn, yeah.
Celeborn.
Okay, so a couple notes before I get to the main thing. The men who are under the command of Saruman when they retake the Shire cut down all the trees in the Shire. They destroy it. What's the Shire good for? Its beauty and how wonderful it is and its nature. And Tolkien loved nature. One of the reasons Tolkien
Lord.
one of the reasons that Tolkien put in like the Uruk-hai was because it was industry, it was destroying all this goodness. He did all that stuff. He loved nature, and so Sam, again, is this chief character. Mordor, also, before it became Mordor, overtaken by Sauron, I believe, was a garden.
An elf garden, yeah?
It was like a garden. I don't know if garden's the right, but it was a place of abundant life. Taken over, destroyed. Sam, what does Faramir say in the movies of Sam? He says, "I'm sure the Shire is a wonderful land where gardeners are held in high," I forget the word he says.
Esteem, probably.
High esteem. And correct. Sam is given the gift from Galadriel of a seed of that core tree in Lothlorien. When they take back over the Shire, and remember the EUCATASTROPHE this whole time, when the four hobbits rally all the good hobbits, of which there are many, when they rally all the good hobbits and take back over the Shire, they're still sad because like we've taken it back over, but all our beloved trees are dead. Sam goes to the heart of the Shire and plants this one seed, and within 1 year,
Which in tree time is 10 seconds.
within 1 year, all the trees of the Shire are bigger, stronger, and more abundant than they ever were before. To Tolkien, evil catastrophe is terrible. However,
Rebirth.
it is not nearly as good as the good catastrophe that comes in if we yearn for the good and if we take the good that is given us and give it back to others. Sam is great. Why? Because he serves and he's loyal and he's kind and he's a gardener.
Yep.
Dang.
And Sam plants this one seed back in the center of the Shire, and that one seed gives goodness to the entire rest of the Shire, and it's reborn and rebirthed
That's awesome.
better than it was before. And that's why Tolkien, as a Catholic, he's embedding his theology in every bit of this story, and it's beautiful and it's strong. It's new heaven and new earth. It's that what you had before isn't as good as what's coming next after we conquer this evil. And that's the end of the story. And then they go to the Grey Havens.
Yep.
But they retake over the Shire. And a couple notes. Merry and Pippin become like the biggest leaders of the Shire.
They don't go to the Undying Lands.
No, Pippin and Merry don't go to the Undying Lands. It's great because it's so funny when Pippin catches the bouquet in the wedding.
Yeah.
He just looks at that lady
It's just a random lady
next
like,
to him.
"Hey,
And yeah, they both have, they're both happy and married and wonderful. And I don't know if actually Merry ever is married. But Sam is the mayor 7 times over, has a daughter. His daughter becomes the handmaid of Arwen in Gondor. And then Merry and Pippin eventually go to Rohan to be with Éomer, and then Merry and Pippin are both buried side by side next to Aragorn. Next to Aragorn.
Wow.
In Gondor.
Which,
There's-
speaking of trees, one of the first things that Aragorn does upon being crowned is Gandalf takes him out of Gondor and to the peak of a mountain. I don't remember which mountain, but he gets a sapling himself. And that sapling he replants the dead white tree of Gondor.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a new
Yep.
tree representative of his new reign. So there's several tree symbolisms, which is very interesting. So I didn't know any of that about the scouring of the Shire. I knew
Yeah.
I knew a little bit. I knew that Sauron was involved. I knew that he croaked, but I didn't know.
So I'll say this again. Reading Lord of the Rings
Sharky.
is the most important thing you'll do as far as reading another book. Read the Lord of the Rings. However, if you're like, I'm just not a reader, I won't read this, you should go read the Scouring of the Shire chapter, which is only like probably 20 pages, if that. Because it's short and you'll get so much of the goodness and strength there of the hobbits. Because Mary at one, again, I could go on. They all have, I know we got to end this.
Yeah.
They have so many good things, but they retake over the Shire, and Sam, as the chief hero, not only saves and leads the Shire, but makes it more beautiful than it ever was.
which is awesome.
Dang.
Well,
And Lord of the Rings is the greatest thing ever created.
it's some of the best movies ever made. I mean, it's for me.
I will drink to this all day long.
For me, it's up there with The Godfather. Danielle, really,
Oh, this is-
really,
We have to do hot
quickly-
points. I'm
really,
sorry.
Really quickly, can we do whatever your version of hot points will be before I
I'm
wrap this
in.
up for the night?
Well, so what I've done is I've ranked 10 men from this movie.
That's better than I expected. I love it. Go ahead.
I just picked mostly Fellowship members and then some side characters that orbit close to them.
From 10 to 1.
From
Starting
10
with
to
number
1.
10, Carl.
Now,
Dan Harmon's top 5 shoot.
it's really not fair, but unfortunately our number 10 is Gimli.
I mean,
That's valid.
We love him. We give him a big ol' hug, but
He's a
not
short
hot.
king.
He's a short king.
John Rhys Davies, my favorite character in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Not Indiana Jones.
He's in Indiana.
Yeah, but Indiana Jones is
I'm
your
joking. Go
favorite.
ahead.
Anyways, number 9 is Pippin. Sorry, Pippin.
Ooh.
oh,
Not
Mary
super
hotter than
hot.
Pip-
Mary
You like-
hotter than
So
Pippin.
Mary has a interesting jaw action that's very distracting to me. He talks left to right.
He's got a moon man face.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Pippin though, he's too childlike to
yeah.
be like, you know,
To be
Mary's
hot.
got a little
To
bit
be
more.
hot.
I'll give fun notes.
Something
Pippin
too.
names his son Faramir, by the way.
All right.
Cute. All right, coming in
Go
at
ahead.
number 8 is Frodo. Also
wait, wait.
towards the bottom.
Sam above
not
Frodo.
Mary.
And not Mary.
Mary and Frodo are probably interchangeable. Mary's next.
I'm going to be
Mary's
hard
next.
pressed to not put Sam at number 1, by the way.
Yeah.
For hotness?
Anyway, go ahead. I want to hear Danielle's. That's just
So
my
we have
mere meager opinion.
Number 8, Frodo. Number 7, Mary. They were. I couldn't decide
It's neck
between
and
the
neck,
two.
so it doesn't matter.
The blue eye, Frodo's blue eyes.
Wait,
maybe
who did you
bump
say
him
after
above.
Frodo? Who'd you say
Mary.
after? Okay,
Mary.
gotcha.
I might
Mary's
bump
what-
Frodo
Mary's
above
what number?
7.
7. Okay, go ahead.
But maybe he's 8 now and Frodo's 7 because of those blue eyes. Number 6 is Boromir.
Okay.
Bottom half. He's
A
annoying.
little hotter than a hobbit.
Little and a dwarf.
We need to make Sean Bean a shirt that says "hotter than your average hobbit."
We'll email.
We're gonna mail it to you. See me.
We'll email him the shirt.
Does he watch the pod
I bet he does.
on
We'll tag
YouTube.com/biggerpod?
him.
Hi, Sean Bean.
in the
Sorry you
post.
die and everything.
Number 5 is Sam. Cracking into the top
Hottest
half.
hobbit.
The hottest hobbit.
Why though? Give us I need. This is the one I need an explanation
quantify
on.
your hotness for him above all other hobbits.
Okay, I need to quantify your hotness rank as him not at number 1. So
I mean, obviously.
Is it the loyalty that does
He's
it?
loyal.
Is it the
He's
face?
brave. He's got a good face. Little sandy hair.
It's round though.
Yeah, but that's okay.
he's got
No,
heart.
it's-
He's got a big old
He's
heart.
proportioned
He'll
well.
take care of you.
He was Rudy.
He'll
in
cook
You
you.
have a stout heart,
They say
Master
about
Hobbit, but
people
it will
He'll
not
cook
save
you a rabbit stew.
What was
Nice.
the Adam Sandler movie he's in?
50 First Dates.
First dates.
Dumb.
That movie sucks. Go ahead.
Oh, I love that movie.
I don't like it.
I'd be on your podcast as the opposite to what your opinions are. Go ahead, Danielle.
Anyways, that's Sam. He cooks. We stand. Number
Also,
4.
he
Long
carried
way,
a
yeah.
skillet to Mordor and back. That's
King.
crazy.
They're heavy.
Well, his priorities are
You won't
right.
even take the skillet out of the oven away so
Hell
much.
no.
That's okay. Danielle's point, though, right now, his priorities. Ladies out there, make sure your man has his priorities right. Thank you.
You gotta
Go
find
ahead,
a good
Danielle.
one. All right, number 4 is Eomer. Eomer. Still top half, but he's a little
Carl
too.
Urban.
He's a little too pinchy.
What do you feel about Carl Urban blonde in this film versus dark haired in every other piece of anything? Because I can't see Carl Urban not blonde.
I
with
can go
blonde
I have
both
the opposite
ways.
problem.
I know.
I think I'm more used to him with brown hair,
Yep.
dark hair.
Yeah.
That's valid.
I don't know if that would have bumped him up anymore on the list, though.
I'm the odd man out. Go ahead.
He's in like my top 5 Marvel movie, Ragnarok, and has one of the best lines in Ragnarok. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah, he's in Ragnarok. Anyway,
Or Nick is like, watch Ragnarok again.
Ragnarok is great, man.
Number
Anyway,
3 is Faramir.
So wait,
Faramir. I
who's your-
love it.
Who's 5 and 4? Real quick.
Number 5 is Sam.
Okay, 4 was
Is
Éomer.
Faramir.
Number
Éomer.
3 was
Faramir.
Oh boy, I'm so
Wait.
nervous for what 2 and 1 are
So
gonna be.
this
Where
is,
was Boromir?
6.
6.
Oh, wait a minute.
Faramir's
So
way hotter.
we've done 3,
Yeah.
so we have 2 left.
Yeah.
should we guess?
So
Well, it's-
Gandalf is the odd man out here.
No, Gandalf is not on the list.
I mean, I
It's,
think
wait a minute.
Gandalf.
Wait a minute.
Number 11.
It's Legolas and Aragorn.
Yes.
Yeah, we have
And
that.
Legolas is number 2.
Wait, well, let her tell it. Let her tell it.
Like
Go.
this is number 2.
Yeah, of course.
And Aragorn
Wrong.
is number 1.
Now,
obviously.
I mean, yeah.
I think that's fine. The door scene's great. Aragorn,
It's
hottest
not
man.
even just the door scene. It's so many scenes.
I think
It's
that's
true.
I think
Like-
you're kind of objectively correct.
I'm objectively correct.
She's absolutely subjectively,
Absolutely.
objectively.
Legolas.
Even if you weren't objectively correct, Hot Points is a.
Dictatorship. I'm in charge. This is my.
Now,
You guys get to talk over me and wax poetic, but when it comes to hotness, I am in charge. Talk
my
about
gosh.
your cinematography. I'm in charge.
What a power move, Danielle.
I have
You
2
deserve every
questions.
bit of it.
Okay.
I have 2 follow-up questions.
Yes.
Number 1 is, if you were to give Aragorn out of 10, Sundance, you have to look upon the Sundance Kid.
I love the Sundance Kid.
Where does Aragorn rank out of 10?
He's a 10.
He's a 10.
He's a
All
10.
right.
So there are
Okay.
3
Cool.
10s now. What are the 10s?
I think there
Sundance
might
Kid?
be 4, unfortunately.
That's fine.
Sundance Kid. I think I gave Paul a 10 because I love
Paul
Timothy.
Atreides?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I love Timothy Chalamet.
That's the
Will
weirdest one.
Turner.
What about Heath Ledger?
And Aragorn.
Heath Ledger, I think, got a 10.
And then Aragorn. So
And
that's
Aragorn.
5
It's
10s,
5
which is
10s.
fine. Now,
We're not counting the Batman.
we have watched. Oh,
that was a 10?
David gave him a 10.
I love
Oh,
the Batman.
right.
Now, we've watched nearly 11 and a half hours of Lord of the Rings. Our argument for 2 months has been Will Turner or Legolas as far as Orlando Bloom hotness. Where do you stand? Has watching these movies again helped Legolas at all? Or is it still Will Turner
It's
for
still
you?
Will Turner
Knowing that
for
Will
me.
Turner was, I mean, your teenage years are carrying a lot of
He was
weight,
my
and that's
guy.
valid.
But also Aragorn looks more like Will Turner. So
Dark hair, little scruff.
True.
yeah. I still watching these back.
For
I
the
was,
She's
li-
got a type.
I
for
was
the
trying
listeners,
to pay
I-
attention.
For the listeners, I don't have dark hair.
You have darker hair than Legolas, though.
That's true. He's very blonde.
You're closer to Aragorn than you are Legolas.
Now, how long has this episode
Legolas
been?
or
Like
Legolas?
27. It's
We're at-
Legolas, but we'll let
Okay.
her have Legolas. It's fine.
Whatever,
we're at
Legolas,
1,000 years.
Legolas.
So,
Can
Not
I
as hot as Will Turner.
one more thing,
can I finish the
I have-
episode by reading the last paragraph
and then I have
of
a
the
last.
book?
I want to know where they all rank for everyone.
I don't care. Read that quote. We've been way
I
too,
still do.
way too long.
I agree with Danielle's, except I put Gimli where Boromir was.
Interesting. But would you bump Boromir? Like,
10. I'd put Gandalf at 10 and Boromir's off the list.
oh.
Poor Sean Bean. Poor Scene Bean.
Gandalf
Actually,
is old.
hold on a minute.
Gandalf's so
I'll put
old.
Theoden at 10.
I like that.
And I'll wait. I'll put
Still
Theoden at
old.
10, then bump him off and put Gandalf at 10. So Boromir's 12.
All right, read your quote. Then
All
I have
right.
a, I have
No,
a
no.
parting word.
I just feel like we should read the last paragraph of the book to end this. At last, the 3 companions turned away, and again, looking back, they rode slowly homewards, and they spoke no word to one another until they came back to the Shire. But each had great comfort in his friends on the long grey road. At last, they rode over the downs and took the east road, and then Merry and Pippi rode on to Buckland, and already they were singing again as they went. But Sam turned to Bywater, and so came back up the hill, as day was ending once more, and he went on, and there was yellow light and fire within, and the evening meal was ready, and he was expected. And Rose drew him in, and sat him in his chair, and put little Eleanor upon his lap, their daughter. He drew a deep breath. Well, I'm back, he said. The end. Wow. Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, man. Well, listen, this is a rare episode. This is the first episode, I think, ever where we have not had a next movie. Due to the vacation, that's just how it is. We'll release it. Maybe we'll give an Instagram story as a teaser before we release the episode. But honestly, Danielle and I aren't worried about it because
We're taking a break.
We're going on a vacation.
You deserve it.
I deserve it.
You guys are committed, and I
So,
appreciate that.
No episode next week. This is our
69th episode.
It's appropriate as Lord of the Rings.
we're out of here, and I leave you
As Tolkien would have wanted.
with one more word. Here at last, on the shores of the sea, comes the end of the episode. We'll catch you in the next one.